Mm. What's up there? What's up there, fellas? Hmm. Hear that?
Good evening, everybody. You're watching America First. My name is Nicholas J. Fuentes. We have a great show for you tonight. Very excited to be back here with you tonight on Tuesday. We have a lot to talk about tonight, lots to get into. Big show. We are once again talking about the war in Iran. It's been a minute. It's been a little while since we talked about the conflict, and it looks like it's starting up all over again. Our featured story tonight is about the U.S. strikes on Iran, which happened today. It's another round of retaliatory strikes after Iran targeted shipping in the Strait of Hormuz yesterday. And this is basically a repeat of what happened last week. Last week, you might remember, Iran was attacking shipping in the Strait of Hormuz. And the reason they're doing this is because the U.S., in collaboration with the country of Oman, have opened up a second route through the Strait of Hormuz on the coast of Oman. And the reason they did this is because Iran is demanding that all shipping that goes through the strait on the north side, on their side of the strait, has to get permission from the IRGC and potentially in the future have to pay some kind of a toll or a fee. So the U.S. and Oman have worked it out that there's going to be a second route hugging Oman's coast on the southern side of the strait, letting the ships go not just for free, but also without permission from Iran. And Iran cannot allow this to happen. Their goal in all of this is to take control of the strait formally so they can make money, but also so that they have the right, which they will reserve, to close the strait in a future conflict. So last week, we saw this happen. This route opened up. Lots of ships were using it and going through on the Omani side. And Iran was harassing that shipping with drones and missiles, attacking those commercial vessels. The U.S. retaliated by bombing Iran's southern coast. The exact same thing is playing out in the past 24 hours. Last night, I think shortly after the show, Iran attacked 3 ships on that Omani side of the Strait of Hormuz, hit 3 of the ships. Some of the drones were shot down by the United States. And now the U.S. has retaliated by bombing Iran. But it's not like the other time. It's actually, I'm not being sarcastic, it's not like every other time that this has happened, which is repeatedly in the past 5 or 6 weeks. This time the United States has bombed Iran, I believe it's 80 times. They attacked 80 different targets. 20 targets on the islands and on the coast, and 60 Iranian vessels in the strait. Not only that, but the United States has officially revoked their sanctions waiver for Iranian oil. So part of the MOU, part of the big ceasefire agreement, is that we would no longer put sanctions on Iran's oil as they sell it mostly to China, but also to other countries. We have now formally revoked the waiver. In response to this, Iran is now attacking our bases in the Gulf, specifically in Kuwait and Bahrain, and the Iranian Foreign Ministry says that the MOU may be dead because they consider this a breach of the agreement. So we're going to talk about all that. We're going to get into the details and work through everything. But fundamentally, nothing has changed at all. Nothing has changed in the past 24 hours. Nothing has changed in the past 2 weeks. Nothing has changed since the MOU. Nothing has fundamentally changed really since the war started. And what I mean by that is Iran wants the strait. We're not going to let them have it. And all of the diplomacy, the meetings, The bombings, everything that has taken place basically since the start of the war has not changed this fundamental impasse, which is that we killed their supreme leader. We went for it. We went for regime change, and they need to create a new dynamic. They need to establish a new precedent to deter this from ever happening again. How do they do that? They need the strait when the fighting is finished. And that's it. They need it, they want it, they have to have it, and the United States will simply not tolerate this. Everything else has just been trying to figure out a way to get past this. The fighting and the negotiating has been an attempt to resolve that fundamental impasse or contention. So this is why people grow tired, I think, of the Iranian coverage, because the fundamentals are not changing at all. So we'll get into that. We'll talk about the latest and where this is going to go. We're also going to talk tonight about the sale of F-35 fighter jets to Turkey. This has been discussed a lot in recent weeks, and I know a lot of us are excited about it. And the reason being is because ever since October 7th, it looks like Israel and Turkey are headed toward a conflict. Israel and Turkey have both openly talked about going to war with each other. Israel has said that Turkey is the new Iran, and that once Iran is finished, there's going to be some kind of strategic confrontation with Turkey, and that will involve Greece, Cyprus, other countries. Turkey, it seems, aims to encircle Israel. Israel aims to encircle Turkey. And it appears that in response to Israel's reluctance to end their war in Lebanon, the Trump administration is trying to effectively hurt Israel by offering to sell our most sophisticated fighter jets to Turkey, which is a variant of our F-35s. Previously, the United States was unwilling to do this because Turkey also has Russian air defense systems. And we'll talk about why that's a problem. It's a major strategic issue for the United States to do this. And so the development today is that Trump is in Turkey right now for a NATO summit. And there's been a lot of talk about selling these F-35s, making a deal, giving them a symbolic gift of 5 F-35 fighter jets. It was expected that Trump would announce that we would officially deliver those jets, but he declined to do so. Trump took the stage and said it's something we're looking at and thinking about, but it's not something he was willing to commit to. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the latest development, and we're also going to get into some of the background, why this is so controversial, and some of the geopolitical implications and where that's going to go as well. Because I think everybody recognizes that's going to be the next stop in Israel's tour, destroying all their rivals and neighbors in the Middle East. So we'll talk a little bit about that as well. And that's going to be our news. It's going to be a good show tonight. Before we get into it, I want to remind you to smash the follow button on Rumble. Smash the like button, leave a comment. Let me know what you think about the show. Check out our merch store at Fuentes.store. We have our spring collection. We have the brand new hats. We have the Jeffrey Epstein quarter zip. We got hoodies, shirts, shorts. And it is official. Okay, I'm making it official now. Monday, we are finally releasing our long-anticipated summer collection of the merch. I know it's been a long time coming. I've been promising it for a while. But it's finally here. We had to work on it because we wanted to offer a lot of different things. And I'm pretty excited about it. So Monday, Fuentes.store. Monday is our big summer collection launch. All brand new stuff, all summer wear, and a lot of different kinds of things. So maybe you might want to wait until Monday. If you want to support the show, subscribe at AmericaFirst.plus. $15 a month. You get access to the archive, every episode of the show, every commentary stream, gaming stream, collaboration. It's all up there. For $100 a month, you get access to the group chat with me, and I'm in the group chat hanging out, dropping bonus content, chatting it up, and generally just chilling and hanging out with the Groypers. It's been pretty fun lately, I have to say. It's been a little bit more amicable. It's sort of like a tense and uneasy peace with the $100 a month club. I know I tell you all the time how annoying it is. But lately it's been a little bit better. I've been striving to, you know what it is? You really just have to push past it. I'm in the group chat getting irritated, and then I realized it's just all about the mentality. It's all about the mind games. It's all about the head game. The head game is strong. Wait, pause. No, the head game is strong in the group chat. It's all about the mental. You can't get tilted. I used to play Fortnite with this Mormon guy, and we would squad up all the time, and he was pretty good, and he would say, the key is to have an all good mentality. No matter what happens, you got to just say, it's all good. It's all good. Because that's really the key. If you get tilted, you can't win. If you get tilted, if you get mad online, now you're really not going to. So I'm in the group chat and I see just the dumbest shit imaginable, people asking the stupidest questions of all time. Somebody today was in there really bothering me, but I just said, you know what? It's all good. It's all good. Doesn't matter. I'm just going to press ahead. I'm just going to say what I'm going to say. It's a little piece of advice for you. It's very relatable. But anyway, check it out. AmericaFirst.plus. It's in the group chat. What else? Hey, did you guys see this? So I didn't actually watch the game, but there was a big soccer game on today in the World Cup. And once again, the Europeans, and by Europeans, I mean the white race, has prevailed over the Muslims. Did you see this? One by one, they fall.
That's
Every
right.
brown clown.
That's right. Argentina fucked those guys up. Egypt fucked them up. It was a comeback. Even Tom Brady said, I think that topped my Atlanta Falcons 28-3 comeback in the Super Bowl. He actually said that.
African country, every towelhead Muslim country, one by one, they get eliminated. One by one, a total Aryan victory. What's the final shaping up to be? I think it's Norway, Belgium, Spain, England, France. Of course. Because we are the best.
Never mind the fact that France is almost their entire team are coloreds. Like straight up. Same thing with Belgium. Same thing with Switzerland.
Best at everything. Even something as stupid and simple as soccer. Everybody can play soccer. There's no excuses for that. You can't bitch and complain about colonialism and, we ain't got no clean water and we ain't got no this or that. It's soccer. All you need is a ball in an open field. Even in this, white race is absolutely dominant. And the big match was on today, Egypt versus Argentina. One of two.
They were up 2-0 with 10 minutes left to go. And Argentina came back and smashed them 3-2 in 10 minutes.
Two remaining brown clown states. One out of two remaining brown clown.
Morocco's playing Spain. No, not Spain. I forget. France.
Mud slime nations going up against the GOAT. Going up against the lion, I should say, Lionel Messi of Italian and Spanish descent. They thought they had it. 70, 80 minutes in, they really thought they had it. They were all in the streets saying, Yallah, Allah, Allah, Bismillah.
Except they got shit on.
Oh, but I guess Allah didn't show up. No, because in the final 10 minutes, they blew their 2-1 lead.
2-0.
And got utterly fucking destroyed.
2-0.
Utterly destroyed by white excellence. I will
Truly,
send the
though,
army.
2-0
Utterly
is
destroyed
crazy.
by Lionel Messi. So it was awesome. And Argentina recovered. Egypt is out of the game. And now I think there's only one Muslim country left. I think it's just Morocco. They're going to get raped to death by France, most likely. It's called we turn the tables a little bit. It's called it's our turn to do the raping. It's called we're going to turn the tables. Somebody else is going to get raped this time.
Nick, they're the underdogs.
Somebody else is going to get grand platinered. Somebody else is going to be having to go to bed and because they don't want to send the drunk driver home. But I saw the clip with Sneeko. Absolute gold. He was literally crying on the stream again. Did you see this?
Wow.
I got to find the clip. I don't have it ready because I forgot.
Let's see it.
to cover it, but I think it's actually essential. It's actually essential that we watch the clip. Who posted it? Was it Goatco? No, it's Kaiserev. I'm going to pull up the clip. All this guy does anymore is cry. Hang on, I pulled up Citizen Vigilante on accident. Let me pull up the clip from Kaiserev. We'll get it up on the big screen here. This is too good. This is too good, guys. This is too good. This is not like this. Not like this, Muslims. Not like this, Muslim bros. Look at this.
Oh. Argentina with the wide ball. Great ball out wide. Oh, it crosses in.
Look at him with his kafir. What a faggot.
Oh my God!
That guy is a legit stereotype next to Sneeko. Like, bro, I've never seen a more stereotypical Arab.
Oh, I love it.
Oh my God!
How does that feel? Yeah. How does that feel? Yeah, and how does that feel? Look at the face. Look, he can't even comprehend. Look at him. Stunned. That's who we are, and you're nothing. Don't forget that. See, that's who we are, and you're nothing. Look at him. He can't even, he's in disbelief. How is it possible, he says? How is it possible for one man, Lionel Messi, to be so goated? How is it possible? Because that's who we are, and you're nothing. Look. Yeah. Oh my gosh is right. Where's Allah? Allah, where did he go? Yeah, what's up? Zoom in. Yeah, zoom in.
Wow.
Zoom in. Put your head in your hands, bitch. That's right. Yeah, cover your face. Cover your face in shame. That's right. This one's on Kafir. This one's on Kafir, bitch. That's right. All that poly market money, thank you very much. We will take that. And we will be taking your poly market money.
Yo, go away. Go, yo, with the sports betting.
I can't believe it.
I can't.
Yeah.
You guys know how much he was going to talk shit too, Sneaky. You know, he was just, oh, the Muslims, oh, they beat the goat. So he deserves this shit.
Huh? How's that one feel? That's right. Hide your face. Hide your face. You're nothing. And then, here was even better. And then this one was even better. This was my favorite moment. Look at this. We get the crying again. Watch.
Wow. Wow.
And then he's literally crying.
Bro, Muslim
Dude,
tears.
he's like Jordan Peterson now.
Low IQ, brown
What happened
clown
to
tears.
Seagull? What happened? Wasn't he just 4 days ago? Wasn't he going, wah, Islam's dominating the world, whatever?
Mm-hmm.
Now he's like Jordan Peterson. All he does is cry. Oh, I hate to see it. Hate to see it, man. And I love that the Cope, they were all saying, well, Argentina's like Israel. They're saying Lionel Messi is Zionist. This is when you realize they are just losers.
Mm-hmm.
Third worldists, their ideology is losing. Losing wars, losing soccer games. It's just losing. And then when they lose, they turn around and blame it on somebody else. Now, don't get me wrong. Like, Israel is like destroying the whole Muslim world. Like, they're killing everybody. They're genociding everybody. That one's legit. Okay, but in a soccer game, you can't blame Israel for losing in soccer. How does that even make sense? They say FIFA's rigged. They're Zionist. It's like, hang on a second. What does one have to do with the other? They got more goals than you. They kicked the ball in the net more times than you.
Mm. Egypt
They
had
go, it's his.
Egypt had probably the best goal in the entire World Cup so far. It got called back for a foul, the whole length of the field. So, you can't just say, "Oh, they crushed or they crushed Egypt." They got a little lucky there too.
Israel's fault. FIFA's rigged. I saw all the brown clowns saying FIFA's rigged. Their coach was saying it. The players were saying it. The streamers were saying it. It's rigged. It's Israel's fault. Have you ever considered maybe you guys just suck?
Mm-hmm.
Stop going up against superior opponents in warfare and in soccer? Maybe that's the lesson? I don't know. But look at this. I don't know. I think he's just clip farming. He's obviously like clip farming it, pretending to cry. But at a certain point, is that really the own that you think it is? It's like people are going to post this clip of you pretending to cry, and he's going to go, well, joke's on you. I was only pretending to be a pussy. Joke's on you. I was only pretending to be a pussy for the clip farm. It's like, I don't think that's the victory you think it is, really. Is that the publicity you want? This is like my new favorite reaction image. I'm going to like screenshot this. That's my new favorite reaction image. Anyway, we're going to get into the news, I promise. I just had to look at this. Where's the clip of him celebrating about the Muslim thing from the other day? I feel like I saw it in the in the replies here. There's Keith. It's so peak. Dude, Keith has been on this shit. His whole timeline. Cup, doesn't it? It feels good to be white in Trump's America again. I wasn't feeling it before, now I am. Now it feels good to be white. That's who we are. He says to Sneeko says, FIFA's a disgrace, Messi's a fraud. He says, dry your eyes, pussy. Dry your eyes. Kneel. Kneel. Kneel for white excellence. It's a sad day for brown clowns.
They got him to go.
I don't even watch soccer. I don't even care that much. It's just like, honestly, it's just an arena for racial conflict. That's why I like it. Just a battleground for race conflict. Oh, this is based. That's right. That's who we are. You cannot pay money to see this movie. Anyway, so we are enjoying. Where's the clip of Sneeko doing the Islam will dominate the world thing? I don't like that it's Jesus. Jesus would never do that, but I like that cartoon in general. Where's another version of it that isn't blasphemous? Yeah. That's right.
Wow, that was fantastic. The bacon hand.
Oh, man. Yep. Facts. Send it up.
Oh, shit.
Send the army. I need to see another cartoon. Where's the other one that isn't Jesus?
God wills it. Blasphemy.
So true. We're loving. I'm so glad. Can I just be honest for a second? The switch up on the third world feels so good. It feels so good to switch up on the third world, because this arc that we were on, where it was like free Palestine and all eyes on Rafah, raise up your sticks for Yahya Sinwar. That was really gay. That was just like the gayest bullshit. And we sort of tolerated it because it was red pilling the masses about Israel. It was red pilling your lib shit, liberal friends, that Israel controls the country. It was obviously moving the ball down the field. But that whole third world arc we were on, where we had to tolerate the endless bitching and crying about colonialism and genocide, raise up your sticks for Yahya Sinwar. That sucked so hard. And I'm so glad we finally got to switch up on him and say, you know what? You got to go too. If the Zionists, if Randy Fine and Laura Loomer are going back, you're fucking going back too. Hassan Piker, Zoran Mamdani, Sneeko, Mehdi Hassan, you're all going back. We need all of you to get the fuck out of America and Europe, and it feels so good. And they go, wait a minute, you can't just switch up. You can't just switch up. What about this? What about that?
Do you really want to live in a country that that sends citizens home or revokes citizenship? Yeah, I do. Send those motherfuckers back.
Oh, are you telling me that we cynically took advantage of the situation to press our own issue? Yeah, absolutely we did. It's
just like the Muslims cynically took advantage of our refugee systems to help people that are in need and suffering.
called taking your own side. It's called taking your own side. We're always raising up the banner for Christ. We're always raising up the banner for Europe, for America, for Western civilization. Don't kid yourself. They said, what about our Muslim-Christian alliance? We switched up. It's called we switched up. We don't want you in our countries.
It's called nobody gives a fuck.
What about the alliance? I thought we had something special. No, I'm sorry, Muhammad. I'm sorry, Muhammad Hijab, Muhammad Bismillah, whatever the fuck. No, we switched up. We take our own side now. You think we're going to be suckers for third worldists and leftists forever? Not going to happen. So it feels good. It feels good. We just need to go for that middle road between the Zionists on the right and the third worldists on the left. That's the move, because that's really the problem, is that when Trump got elected in 24, the Zionists on the right were the real problem. They were pushing this version of American nationalism that was inextricably tied up with Zionism and the influence of the Likud party and Netanyahu and AIPAC. And I feel like that has been sufficiently weakened. We're still pushing against that, but obviously those binds have been dissolved a little bit. And now we have a problem on the left, which is this anti-Israel but third worldist communist thing is in its ascendancy through Zoran Mamdani, through the DSA, through people like Hassan Piker. Now we need to take the fight to them and remind everybody we're not some brown clowns. We're not about to abolish ICE and get rid of the prisons and bring on the third worlders just because we're against Israel. We need to shut that down too. And it's through this dialectical process that eventually we're going to get where we need to go, which is America first. So anyway, but if it feels good, it feels like we're home. The problem is that for 2 years, whenever you would hear this crusader rhetoric, a lot of the white nationalist crusader rhetoric was a front for a pro-Israel agenda, let's be honest, because it was about supporting Trump and Vance. It was about getting people to vote for the GOP, ultimately to support a war with Iran. Many of these national populist types were saying that attacking Iran is being like the Roman Empire. It's like we're doing it for Israel. It's not like that at all. But now I think it's taken on a different significance now that we see the ascendancy of this DSA Muslim coalition. It is the Hassan Pikers, the Sneekos, these types of people that clearly we have nothing in common with. If you are anti-Israel but right-wing, they'll call you a Nazi anyway, and they want nothing to do with you. You go up to Mehdi Hassan as a white person and say, hey, I'm against Israel too, and he hates your ancestors. He hates your country. He thinks this is his home. He thinks you should be imprisoned for being too right-wing. That's the problem. So I'm very pleased with how all of this is playing out. It feels good. Feels good to see Sneeko cry, Muslims crying. That's exactly where it needs to be. But anyway, so that's just a little bit of the soccer stuff. I'm not even into soccer at all. I catch it. I've been watching the games with America until we were eliminated. And I really am just in it because we get to project the racial dimension onto it. I'm just waiting to see all these Muslim countries get eliminated so that Sneeko and the rest of them are unhappy. But I do want to move on. I want to get into our news for the night. Enough about, I don't know how much you guys even care about that, how much you guys watch soccer. I'm not that into it, but I do want to move on. We're going to get into our big news for the night, which is all about the war in Iran. Are you guys happy? You ready for another show about Iran? It's been a minute since we covered the war. And the big development today is that it looks like this Memorandum of Understanding, which is barely a month old, has officially fallen apart. We're not there yet. I don't believe it's 100% confirmed that the MOU is finished, but it looks like it might be. It's definitely on the ropes. And the development over the last 24 hours is that Iran has once again resumed its attacks on shipping on the southern side of the Strait of Hormuz. Yesterday, Iran launched drones and missiles impacting 3 shipping containers, or I should say 3 container ships in the Strait of Hormuz. All of today and tonight, the United States has been retaliating against Iran, bombing their islands, bombing their southern coast, bombing IRGC vessels in the Persian Gulf. And as the United States is carrying out this attack, now Iran is retaliating against the United States, bombing our bases in Kuwait and Bahrain. The United States has also removed the sanctions waivers, revoked them, and so now Iranian oil will once again be subject to the U.S. sanctions regime and will not be allowed to be officially sold on the open market. And this is a story from the Wall Street Journal about the events of the past 24 hours, and we'll talk a little bit more about it. It says, quote, the Trump administration pounded sites along Iran's coast in fresh airstrikes and blocked its ability to sell oil legally on Tuesday in response to Tehran's recent attacks on ships near the Strait of Hormuz. The strikes on Tuesday were 4 to 5 times more extensive than other attacks launched since the agreement to end the war, which was signed last month. The U.S. still considers the ceasefire in effect. The strikes targeted air defense, coastal surveillance, surface-to-air, and anti-ship cruise missile sites, as well as drone launch sites and port facilities. The attacks came shortly after the Trump administration revoked a license allowing Iran to sell oil on the open market. The Treasury Department said the June 21st temporary license granted to Iran after several months of war would no longer apply, but the Treasury Department allowed for a grace period until July 17th for transactions already authorized under the license. Iran's foreign ministry criticized the move and said in a statement that the revocation of the waivers was a violation of the Memorandum of Understanding. The U.S. has continued to coordinate with commercial vessels transiting the Strait of Hormuz using a route that it cleared near the coast of Oman. Over the weekend, the IRGC warned ships that it was prepared to target them if they used the route promoted by the U.S. and Oman. Early Tuesday, Iran fired anti-ship cruise missiles and one-way attack drones at vessels seeking to cross the southern route. 3 ships were struck. Iran's attacks come just as traffic through the Strait of Hormuz is recovering. Daily traffic through the checkpoint has stabilized at between 30 to 60 crossings in recent days. So let's get into the background a little bit. If we are to reframe the conflict in Iran, I think it's becoming increasingly clear that the nature of the U.S. war with Iran has fundamentally changed. And it changed the moment that we killed the Ayatollah. And the way that it has changed is in terms of the fundamental American strategic objective. We started hostilities with Iran last year in June when we bombed Iran's nuclear sites in Operation Midnight Hammer. And so you could say that the initial goals of U.S. hostilities against Iran were primarily about shutting down Iran's enrichment capability and destroying Iran's nuclear stockpile. When we went to war again this year on February 27th, we killed the Ayatollah, we bombed them 15,000 times, and ostensibly the objective in this conflict was regime change. That's why we decapitated the regime. We killed the supreme leader, decimated the military and civilian leadership, and we attacked not only political regime targets, but also military targets across the country. But look beyond this. What was the purpose of the regime change? Fundamentally, the reason we sought regime change is because Iran would not agree to our ultimatum to give up their nuclear centrifuges. So realistically, the regime change was also about Iran's nuclear program. Last year, we sought to arrest the development of their nuclear program by bombing it, making it inaccessible, destroying the infrastructure, and setting it back. Because we could not convince them through negotiations to abandon their ambitions for a nuclear weapon or a nuclear threshold state, we sought a regime change. Because if they had a different regime, then that new regime would not be pursuing a nuclear arsenal. But the second that we attacked the regime and we sought its ouster, hoping that the people of Iran would rise up, and failed in doing this, suddenly the war became about something else. Because the moment that we failed at pushing the regime out, Iran closed the Strait of Hormuz. This is something that the United States civilian leadership did not anticipate. The military leadership, the Pentagon, knew they were going to close the strait, and they were warning us in the press. If you go back and read the press in February of this year, in the weeks leading up to the conflict, there were planted stories in Politico, in the Washington Post, coming from the Pentagon that said, regime change will fail, they'll close the strait. And what we've learned since is that it was the president and some of his advisors who were not confident that Iran would be willing or able to do this or sustain the closure of the strait. So we failed at regime change, and what Iran immediately did is close the strait. Now, what this means is that everything since then has fundamentally now become about opening up the Strait of Hormuz. We're going after their nukes last year. This year, we're going after regime change to get them to abandon their nuclear ambitions or aspirations. But then, because we went for the regime, they closed the strait. Everything since then has now been about opening up the Strait of Hormuz. We now recognize and realize we're not going to topple the regime. The regime is entrenched. It's dug in. They're not going to negotiate. We recognize now we really can't militarily defeat them without some kind of ground force. The airstrikes, the naval strikes, it's not enough. We sank their navy. That really doesn't matter from a strategic point of view. We've bombed them and thrown everything at them, has not meaningfully suppressed or destroyed their missile and drone capability. So what is the primary objective now? Well, now, since the Strait of Hormuz has been closed, economically, we're bleeding. In order to keep energy prices stable, we've had to open up our strategic petroleum reserve, as everybody knows. And not only that, but we've coordinated with the International Energy Agency to open up all these strategic reserves in all the different countries in the world. Hundreds of millions of barrels of oil have been opened up in other oil reserves in other countries. And this has only just bought us time. But we recognize that when those reserves run out, and when those last shipments from the strait arrive at their ports, which they already have, at their destination, then the clock is going to start ticking for a total economic meltdown, for when there's legitimate energy scarcity. And when I say energy scarcity, I don't mean gas prices are high. I mean there are fuel shortages. Because at a certain point, it just becomes a question of logistically, how do we get enough oil into the pipelines to go to consumers? How do we get enough of the right kind of oil to our refining infrastructure and get it out? You're just going to face real shortages where people are not going to be able to get the energy they need. And what happens then is people panic. And then people are going to start to try to stockpile energy. You see this happening in Russia. This is sort of a different situation. Ukraine is increasing their attacks on Russia's oil refineries. And so there are legitimate fuel shortages for cars. So what happens when gas prices start to shoot up is people start to hoard the gas. And that means there's an even bigger pressure on supply. And then you have a real crisis. Now you have the state having to intervene. Now it's a real problem. And so this has been the fundamental issue ever since basically February 28th, is how do we now get the Strait of Hormuz open and end the war? Okay, we're not getting regime change. We're not going to destroy their nukes or their stockpile of uranium. We're not going to suppress their drones and missiles. How do we now just get them to agree to open up the strait so we can wrap it up? Iran has us by the balls, and they know it. And everything that has taken place since February 28th has been an effort, militarily or through negotiations, to try to get Iran to let us leave the conflict. A lot of people think it's up to us to just walk away. People say, why doesn't Trump just end the war? I'm sure he wants to. I'm sure he knows he needs to, but he can't. He can't, because if we walk away, Iran takes the strait. We can't let them do that. And so it's a question of whether Iran will let us. Iran could end the conflict tomorrow if they simply open up the strait to traffic with freedom of navigation, which was the status quo before the war. But they won't do that. They won't let us leave because they want to take control over the strait. And the reason being is because that capability will just be another tool in their arsenal to deter us from attacking them again. In the past, the United States was wary about attacking Iran because we were worried that Hezbollah would attack Israel. Iran would use its ballistic missiles to target Israel and American bases and our Arab allies. They might create a weapon. They might weaponize their nuclear program. And now what Iran wants to do is add another form of deterrence, which is we're going to do all of the above, plus we're going to close the strait. We are going to more easily and efficiently and maybe even legally shut down the Strait of Hormuz. And that way, the next time the United States goes to war with Iran in a coalition with Israel and the Gulf states, not only is Iran going to weaponize their nukes, not only is Hezbollah going to bomb Israel, not only is Iran going to bomb everybody with missiles, but also they're going to shut down the strait and there's nothing we could do about it. So they're just adding another form of deterrence to their strategy. And Iran has basically said this openly. They said this explicitly a couple of weeks ago. We covered it on the show. Iran's leader said, we're not interested in normalization so much. They said, we're actually not that interested in bilateral relations with the United States, integrating into the region. We're not necessarily interested in some formal peace treaty where we're on good terms with the people that tried to destroy us. They said, we're interested in ensuring that they never attack us again. He said, we're more interested in ensuring a durable peace, meaning that even if the United States doesn't like us, even if Israel doesn't like us, even if there's no formal peace treaty that ends the war, they're not going to try it again because of deterrence, because Iran has reestablished deterrence, which in a word is an enforcement mechanism. Iran is basically saying, we don't trust your treaties. We're not interested in a handshake, a photo op. We're not interested in some treaty like the JCPOA, which the United States ripped up. They said that doesn't guarantee our security. All the pomp and circumstance, it's nice, but we saw what happened the last time. Iran made a deal with the United States and the European 3 countries and Russia and China. It was called the JCPOA. A Zionist puppet, Trump got elected and ripped it up and started attacking Iran, engaging in a shadow campaign against them with Israel, and then outright attacked Iran many times. So Iran says, you can keep all that. We're not interested in that. What we are now principally concerned with is making sure that you never want to attack us again. They're changing the incentives. Now, the United States cannot leave until the Strait of Hormuz is open for a few reasons. One, because we happen to know this. We know that if Iran controls the strait, that will make it impossible to ever go in and manage this problem again. And by this problem, I mean Iran still has nuclear enrichment. They still have their stockpile of highly enriched uranium. They still have a massive native drone and missile production capability. And so if Iran gains control over the strait and they take military intervention off the table forever through deterrence, then that means that we basically have no way to intervene if Iran's nuclear program advances to a level that we're not comfortable with. Let's say we make a nuclear agreement with Iran. If Iran breaks the terms of the agreement, how do we punish them? If they control the strait, there's no way for us to go in. Can't bomb them, can't pursue regime change, can't go to war even in a limited or narrow way, because then they'll choke off the strait and destroy the global economy again. It'll alienate us from NATO, from our partners in the Pacific, so we know this. What's more, if Iran controls the strait, they're going to make money from it. We now have effectively ceded control of one of the world's most vital waterways with 20% of the world's oil, and then they get to charge money off of this. So this is a vital strategic waterway that is under the control of one of our defiant mortal enemies, and then they're going to profit from it and use the proceeds to fund the activities that we're concerned about, which is rebuilding their drone and missile infrastructure, advancing their nuclear program, funding their proxies, like Hezbollah, the Houthis, the militias inside of Iraq. That's another problem for us. And then maybe the tertiary concern is that if Iran gains control over a vital waterway, annexes it, uses it to profit, we're also concerned about the precedent this establishes for other vital waterways. Are other countries going to look at some of these choke points for global trade, and are they going to start to want to charge money? Maybe Turkey is going to start to charge for the Bosporus Strait, or maybe Malaysia or Singapore, Indonesia will claim control over some of the passages into the South China Sea from the Indian Ocean. It's another problem about setting that precedent in general. The United States is the guarantor of global security and the rules-based order. We have to ensure freedom of navigation. So these are basically our concerns. From a strategic point of view, we cannot allow Iran to come out the victor. That's a huge spoils. It's a huge prize for Iran to walk away from our all-out attack with control over this vital waterway, and then basically all the leverage in any future diplomacy or relationship with the United States and our partners in the Middle East. So you understand basically now that this is the strategic issue at the heart of what is happening with U.S. and Iran. When we're bombing Iran in any form, in any capacity since the original ceasefire, we're trying to compel them through the threat of force or assassinations to open up the strait and let us leave. The negotiations are accomplishing the exact same thing. That has been the central point of contention even since the original ceasefire. Is we are telling Iran, look, we'll stop bombing you, but for us to leave you alone, we need you to open up the strait so that we could get our oil back, we could get our economy going. But the terms under which the strait must open is freedom of navigation. And Iran has not been willing to do this. And so that's why even since the original ceasefire, we had to negotiate the MOU. But inside the Memorandum of Understanding, which is the latest agreement, which we talked about as it was announced, and they formally agreed to it in June, is that the actual provisions inside the MOU are totally ambiguous about the strait. What the Memorandum of Understanding says is that the Strait of Hormuz will open, normal traffic must resume within 30 days of the signing of the agreement, and normal traffic is about 130 to 160 ships per day, something like that. That was the pre-war volume of shipping. But it also says that the strait will be jointly managed by Iran and Oman. And so what exactly does that mean? Well, nobody knows because it doesn't say. The provision says the strait will open, normal traffic must resume within 30 days, and it will be jointly managed by Iran and Oman, which border the strait, with consultation from the other Gulf countries, which are Bahrain, Kuwait, Qatar, the UAE. And so Iran has met with Oman, and they've discussed this, and there's some disagreement about what will happen there. This is what brings us to what has happened today. So since the MOU, there's been this uneasy understanding about the strait. Iran has said that they're implementing the agreement by gradually opening up the Strait of Hormuz and allowing traffic to resume. However, What Iran says is that this is going to be a managed opening. It's going to be a controlled opening. And they're saying that in order to ensure safe passage in the strait, all of the commercial ships that transit have to get permission from the IRGC first and only use approved routes. They say they're conducting demining operations. They're removing all the sea-based mines. And they're also effectively enforcing something like a blockade. They're threatening to shoot on any ship that doesn't have permission. And so Iran is saying, look, the strait is opening. We're allowing traffic to go through, but we're going to need you to tell us before you're coming, and you can only go through these routes. Otherwise, we'll attack you. So this is how it worked as the MOU was passed. These ships were coordinating with the IRGC. They were being allowed to leave the strait. And traffic was picking back up to about 30, 35 ships on average per day. But then what started to happen about 2 weeks ago is that a second route was opened up on the southern side of the strait. So the Strait of Hormuz is bounded on the north by Iran and Iran's islands, and on the south by Oman, which is a far weaker country with a much smaller population, and which is relatively neutral between Iran and the United States. So the United States, in conjunction with Oman, has opened up this second route on the southern side, which ships have been using without getting permission from Iran. And so you could say these two different routes represent the two different strategic ideas about what will happen in the strait. Iran wants to establish the precedent that to use the strait, you need permission from them first. Why is that? Because if ships start to get used to the idea that they need Iran's permission to go through the strait, then outside the life of this agreement, which expires in 60 days, then Iran will only grant permission if you pay Iran. That's how Iran wants this to evolve. They want everybody to get used to this precedent that if you want to use the strait, you need Iran's permission. Why would you need permission? Well, because they own it. And if they own it, they can seek a rent off of it as well. And so in the future, they're going to say, well, we're only giving permission to go through the strait if you pay our $1 per barrel of oil fee or $2 million per ship fee. And they're going to finesse the language. They're saying, well, this is a fee for services rendered, environmental fees, protection fees, service fees. This is our payoff to manage the strait. And so Iran wants every ship to go through their approved route, and they're going to enforce this because that will establish the precedent for their legal formal claim over the strait, which will give them the right in the future to charge money to use it. Now, if Oman opens up a free lane, if they open up a route that can be used for free without permission, then obviously this is a threat to Iran's claim, their monopolistic claim of controlling the strait. And what started to happen in the past 2 weeks is that the volume of shipping going through the strait went up dramatically because all the ships started to go through the free route, hugging the coast of Oman. And so what happened, not last Friday, but the Friday before that, is that Iran began attacking those ships with drones and missiles. And Iran's supreme leader and their jurist council said that for this route to exist threatens Iran's control over the strait, which is all their leverage, which is effectively all their deterrent power. They said it can't be allowed to go on. So they started to attack this shipping every single day, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, not last week, but the week before that, that final week in June. In response, the United States bombed Iran's southern coast from where they were launching these attacks, bombing drone launch sites, missile launch sites on Iran's islands and on their southern coast as a direct and proportional retaliation for those attacks. On top of that, the United States began escorting all commercial shipping with a full package, drones and Ospreys and fighter jets. Individual ships were getting a full package to go through the strait to deter Iran from targeting them with drones. Over the past week, things have been relatively quiet. Iran has been hosting the funeral of their supreme leader, Ali Khamenei, and so they've had delegations from every country. I think over 100 countries came to visit, including Saudi Arabia, including Qatar, including all the countries involved in the conflict. But then this started up all over again last night. Ships have continued to use that southern route, hugging the coast of Oman. And once again, last night, Iran targeted 3 ships, shutting this down. Now, the big development today is that the United States has launched an all-out attack on Iran, but like I said, this one is different. Last week, the strike was proportional. So Iran was launching one-way attack drones at the ships. We were shooting down the drones and attacking the bases from which the drones came. Very proportional, and this was put Iran in check, saying, if you attack those ships, we're going to shoot down the projectiles, we're going to bomb the sites where they came from. Well, now the U.S. response was not proportional, and the U.S. Central Command under the Pentagon basically said this to the press. They said the goal of this strike is not to be proportional. This is to send a message to the leadership in Tehran, which is, if you keep messing around and you don't leave our shipping alone, we're going back to war. So we launched a strike against about 80 different targets, 60 Iranian ships, and about 20 sites on Iran's coast and on its islands. It was a powerful strike intended to send the message that, like I said, you have to enforce your part of the MOU and let the shipping go through. In response, Iran is now launching a major drone and missile attack against U.S. bases in Bahrain and Kuwait. And now I assume the United States will retaliate for this. And so it looks like the MOU has basically fallen apart. Like I said, the other big part of this is not only did the U.S. bomb Iran disproportionately, but today we also announced that we're revoking the sanctions waiver given to them in the MOU. In order to even get Iran to agree to this 60-day Memorandum of Understanding, which we're about 30 days in, something like that, we haven't even started implementing it. But part of the sweetener to get Iran even in the agreement in the first place was up front, we ended our blockade of their shipping. So ever since the MOU started, Iran has been freely importing and exporting through the strait. We have left their ports alone. Meanwhile, the strait is still closed for us. And secondarily, the other thing they got up front is that we gave a waiver on U.S. sanctions against their oil. So ever since the MOU went into effect, Iran has been able to sell its oil at full price on the open market, and they've been able to denominate this trade in dollars, which means that they have gotten immediate financial relief. In the previous regime, we were not allowing them to use U.S. dollars. We banned them from the U.S. dollar system. And so not only did they have to sell their oil on the black market with their shadow fleet to select customers at a discount, but also it was very arduous to receive the payment for the oil. It took a longer period of time because they had to go through other currencies. Well, not only did we let them sell the oil on the open market, which means they can charge full price, they can sell to a variety of customers, so it's competitive, but also we let them settle the payments in dollars. They're getting billions and billions of dollars from the sale of their oil settled immediately. They're getting that cash up front. So what it's looking like, and this is what I said when the MOU happened, it's two things. What I said about the MOU when it was signed is that, one, it's a giveaway for Iran. They're getting things up front without giving anything at all. And what they got up front is that we ended our blockade of their shipping. Meanwhile, the strait remained closed. And they slow-walked it. They said, well, we can't open up the strait until we get rid of all the mines. We can't open up the strait for 30 days. So they slow-walked it. Meanwhile, we left them alone. They got the sanctions waiver on the oil, so they sold tons of oil, made billions of dollars. They got financial relief up front. The third thing they got is they get to keep their nuclear program going under the previous status quo. So even though the first war was about limiting and restraining their nuclear program, and the second war was about regime change to get them to abandon the development of some kind of threshold status with their nuclear program, under this agreement, there's no restrictions on it. As we negotiate restrictions on the nuclear program, they're moving full steam ahead. And the status quo prevails. That's the language of the MOU. So they get all of this up front. No expectations on the nuclear program. They get to sell their oil in dollars, receiving billions immediately, and we immediately stop the blockade of their ports. So it's a total giveaway. We get nothing. We get these vague promises that in the future, they might consider inspections on Natanz, Esfahan, and Fordo. They might consider some voluntary restrictions on nuclear enrichment, but not giving it up. They might consider downblending or diluting their nuclear stockpile under the supervision of the IAEA. But they didn't do any of those things. They made vague promises to talk about doing those things in the future once they got everything they asked for up front. There was even discussion last week that the United States would give Iran $6 billion of their unfrozen assets to keep them in the deal. So we give them all this stuff up front to get them to agree to it. They don't open up the strait. They're not implementing it. We know what they're doing. They're finessing and manipulating us, and we're going to give them billions of dollars more to keep them in the process, which didn't actually happen, as so we're told, but that's something that was offered to them. So that's number one about the MOU. To this day, 3-4 weeks in, we realize this was a giveaway. We still, 3 weeks into the process, have received nothing from Iran. They have not opened up the strait. This weekend, 30 to 60 ships per day transited the strait, but on average, it was about 37. It was roughly 37 ships on average per day, which is only a little bit higher than the highest it's been since the war started in February, which was back when the ceasefire happened in April. I think it was a high of 30 ships went through the strait on a given day. So the traffic is not normalized. We have gotten nothing so far. But the second big part of the MOU is that it didn't actually fundamentally resolve anything. If in order to end this conflict, we needed to resolve 3 things, which is 1, how we're going to end hostilities with Iran, 2, how we're going to open up the strait, and 3, what the future negotiations will look like over the nuclear program, the MOU didn't solve any of these. Because like I said from the beginning, there was no explicit agreement about what would be done about Lebanon. The MOU said it's going to be a ceasefire on every front or no deal, and that includes Lebanon. Well, we're not the ones bombing Lebanon. Israel is, and Israel wasn't even a party to the agreement. Israel wasn't present. Israel never affirmatively agreed to it. As a matter of fact, they explicitly said, we're going to do the opposite of this. We're not bound or constrained by it, and there's no goodwill. We're not going to go with the United States and implement this. So from the get-go, literally provision number 1 of the MOU was never going to happen, because provision number 1 said Lebanon's territorial integrity and sovereignty must be respected. This is something that Israel must enforce. It's something Israel never agreed to, wasn't a party to, wasn't consulted on, and they're never going to agree to that. So that's out. The ceasefire's out. That's not happening. Number 2 is the strait, like we talked about. Since February 27th, the question has been, under what conditions and how and when will Iran open up the strait? Iran has insisted that the only way the strait opens is under their legal control. And we have said that's never going to happen. The only way we will accept an opening of the strait and end hostilities is if it's freedom of navigation. And the day the MOU was signed, there was still no agreement on this. Nobody made any concessions on this. Iran never abandoned their intentions of controlling the strait. The United States never abandoned its goal of liberating the strait for freedom of navigation. So that was always going to be a problem. And by the way, Iran used the first violation to justify breaching the second. And by that I mean, Iran said if there's no ceasefire in Lebanon, which they knew there wouldn't be, that is the pretext under which we will not implement the opening of the strait. They said as long as the war in Lebanon is going on, we're not really going to open up the strait, and we're also not going to do the third thing, which is even begin negotiations on the nuclear program. And there's still no agreement on that either. So, like I said from the start, this MOU is a sham. Just like the original ceasefire, just like all these negotiations happening in Switzerland and Turkey and Islamabad and elsewhere, these negotiations are fundamentally not accomplishing anything. And I think what every single party recognizes, but what they are not telling us, what Israel and the Pentagon and Iran all assume, is that we are going back to war. It's not a question of if. We are going back to war. The U.S., Israel, the Saudis, the Emiratis, we are all going back to war against Iran. And Iran knows that. Iran anticipates this. They expect it. They're preparing for it. They know it's practically inevitable. It's just a question of when. And I think that both sides are simply just buying time. What we're really looking for is not peace. We're not actually solving anything. I don't know if there's much confidence that we will solve anything. What we're looking for is a reprieve from the pain. There's a midterm election coming up in November, and gas prices have been too high. Inflation has been ticking up. It's threatening to derail our AI-driven economic growth broadly across the economy. So really, by any means necessary, we just need some oil getting out there. And I think that's fundamentally what the MOU was about. Did we really have confidence that Iran would open up the strait free and clear? Absolutely not. We knew their intention was to keep the strait closed under their management. But we knew that if we made a gesture, if we sweetened the deal by letting them get their oil out first, hey, oil is oil. If we let the oil get out of the strait, if we let some of the other oil get out, even if they got to pay, even if they need Iran's permission, even if some of the ships get attacked hugging the coast of Oman, we said, hey, at least the markets are going to be optimistic, and so maybe we could stabilize the prices and keep them low, and this supply will increase a little bit on the global market. And I think that's really what this whole charade is about. Ever since the MOU was passed, this was about averting maybe the worst case scenario energy shortage ahead of the midterm elections. How do we just increase the global supply of energy a little bit? Let's let Iran sell their oil. How do we make it look like it's not a total capitulation? We'll do it in the framework of this MOU. It would look like a capitulation if we let Iran sell their oil in dollars when we are not allowed to get our oil out of there. And by that, I mean our allied countries' oil, the Saudis, Kuwait, the rest of them. So we did it in the framework of the MOU. You go first, you sell your oil. We won't sanction it, and we'll even let you sell it in dollars. That's our gift to you. And also, we knew it would be contentious in the strait. We knew it would be like this. We knew there'd be fighting. We knew there'd be bickering over it. But whether the tankers leave through the Iranian-controlled route and they pay or need permission, whether they leave through the Omani route and some of them get lost along the way, that's also increasing the supply of oil. So we can huff and puff, and we could be upset about it, and we could say they're in breach of the agreement and, all the rest of it, but the oil is hitting the market. And maybe that's what matters in all of this. And if the oil is hitting the market, then we get an economic reprieve. And you know what? We also get to buy time. We also get to buy time to do what we need to do and recover militarily, whether that's evacuating some of our soldiers, figuring out a different system of fortifications. We had a lot of our soldiers inside hotels. Hotels are not fortified against a drone strike. Iran knew where they were. The soldiers stationed in those hotels knew Iran knew where they were, and they got hit, and those were the casualties. Those were the people that died. 6 out of the 13 casualties were soldiers put up in a hotel. They knew they were being targeted. They knew they weren't safe, and they weren't. They got killed by a drone strike. So it's buying us time. And then on the other side, the same thing is happening in Iran. Iran has went back to work rebuilding their drone and missile production capability since April. Ever since the heavy U.S. bombardment stopped in the first week of April, I think it was April 7th or April 8th, beginning of the second week, Iran went right back to work rebuilding their missile and drone production capability, getting cheap supplies from China. And now the U.S. intelligence for the military estimates that they still have 75% of their missile arsenal. They'll be back to 100% within 6 months, as early as 6 months. So this is the United States buying time economically to avert a worst-case scenario energy crunch. And this is also buying time for Iran to get a little bit of cash, to pay their police and their military, getting a little bit of cash, and time to rebuild their drone and missile infrastructure as well. And I think what that represents is we're both getting ready for round 2. We both think that we can fight the other to exhaustion. We both are still confident that we can get what we want. which is to say Iran is not, they're not waving the white flag. They still want control of the strait. They don't fear a return to hostilities. And on some level, neither do we. We're not willing to escalate necessarily by bombing their energy infrastructure. Maybe we'd be willing to do another assassination strike, but clearly we're not necessarily worried about the MOU falling apart either. So I think, like I said from the beginning, this is not the end. That, to me, that's always the story about Washington, Tel Aviv, and Tehran, is that it's not over until it's over. Last year, after Midnight Hammer, everybody said, well, hey, no harm, no foul. We did one airstrike. That's how it should be done. We got in, we got out, end of story. And if there's anything to know about Iran, is that it's never the end. We thought it was the end when Israel provoked Iran in Syria in April of 24. We thought it was the end in October 24 when Iran retaliated against Israel for their strike in Iran in July. We thought it was over in September 2025 when Israel did that assassination strike in Qatar. You know, we always think it's over in this whole thing. The ceasefire in Gaza, the ceasefire in Lebanon, the ceasefires with Iran, it's not over until it's over. Until those fundamental root causes that are driving this escalation, driving the conflict are solved. And I think that what we effectively did with Midnight Hammer is we put ourselves on a pathway that inevitably leads to a decisive confrontation. And by decisive, I mean one side is going to lose badly. Either Iran's regime will fall, or the United States will be dealt such a devastating blow, militarily or economically, that we have to leave. And maybe that means the regime with the Trump administration. Maybe it goes on until 28 and a new president's elected on a promise of ending the war. I mean, but in some way, shape, or form, something's got to give here, and it's going to be with some finality. Because from a strategic point of view, we're not going to let Iran have this nuclear stockpile, have a nuclear enrichment capability, have this native drone and missile capability, and we have no say, no check, no ability to enforce an agreement, no ability to trim the grass, intervene if it gets out of hand, especially not now when the regime is absolutely defiant and dug in and resilient and in many ways vengeful and furious about what happened. So we can't let them alone, and they can't leave us alone. They need to stick it to us so we don't try this again. So like I said, I think when you consider what's happening on a deep level, strategically, you realize it's not that the war isn't going to end, it's that the war cannot end unless it's decisive. So that's where we are. I don't see how this all comes together and gets wrapped up neatly and cleanly in a bow without one side coming down. That's where all this is headed. So that's the MOU. We're also going to talk a little bit about this F-35 deal with Turkey, if we have time. I think we have time, right? Let me take a look and see. When did we start this show? Yeah, I guess we'll cover it. Why not? We'll cover it. Our second story is about the sale of F-35 fighter jets to Turkey. Very, very controversial decision. Now, the news from today is that President Trump visited Ankara, the capital of Turkey, for a NATO summit where he met with all the NATO leaders. And there were a lot of expectations about what would be addressed there, what would be said concerning some of the defense budgets of countries like the UK, Italy, and Spain, expectations about Greenland and Denmark. Some remarks were made about this. But a big question was concerning the president of Turkey, Erdogan, and whether Turkey would receive the green light for a deal where the U.S. would sell them 5 F-35 fighter jets. Now, it was expected that President Trump would come to this NATO summit and would formally and officially announce that the U.S. was going to move to give the authorization and the clearance to sell these F-35 fighter jets to Turkey. This is something that's been discussed in the past several weeks by Vice President Vance, President Trump. They've made a gesture towards this, and it was expected that today it would have been a done deal. But Trump came to Turkey today and basically said it's not a done deal. He said, we're considering it, we're looking at doing it, but he stopped short of saying we're actually going to give them the F-35 jets. And this is a story about this from the New York Times. It says, quote, President Trump heaped praise on Turkish President Erdogan as he arrived at the NATO summit on Tuesday, but stopped short of publicly agreeing to give Erdogan the ability to purchase U.S. F-35 fighter jets. Answering questions from reporters at the start of a meeting between the two leaders, Trump said that he thought allowing Erdogan to have access to the fighter jets made sense, and it was something certainly that we will consider. Erdogan offered a more definitive judgment, saying in Turkish that Trump had promised the country 5 planes and that, quote, Mr. Trump always stands by his word. Last month, Trump said he planned to present a gift to Erdogan in Turkey that would make him very happy, and suggested Erdogan serving as the host was the main reason that he would make the 9-hour journey to the NATO summit. The main item Erdogan has sought are those fighter jets. During Trump's first term, Turkey was banned from receiving the stealth planes because the country bought a Russian air defense system. At the meeting with Erdogan, Trump said the sale of the planes would make sense. He said, quote, I can tell you many people, including the people sitting here, think, why wouldn't we do that? We have a better relationship with Turkey, and Turkey's been in many ways much more loyal than other countries that we think would be loyal. I wonder who he's talking about there. He says, why wouldn't we give them F-35s? They're more loyal than other countries that should be loyal. But whether Congress would try to block the sale remains unclear. At the end of Trump's first term, Congress passed a law to prevent Turkey from buying the planes as long as it has the Russian S-400 anti-aircraft system. Under the terms of the deal that was still being finalized during the gathering, Turkey would ship its S-400 system to a third country, helping to address the security concerns about F-35s being operated by the same militaries. So, a little bit of background on this. Turkey was actually part of the consortium going back to 1999, even to develop the F-35 jet. These jets are designed and developed and planned and built long before they actually are introduced into a country's arsenal. And so the F-35 goes back 30 years. And in 1999, Turkey, along with other NATO countries, was part of that consortium to develop that next generation stealth fighter aircraft. And so, like other NATO countries, other U.S. allies, they were supposed to get them. However, in 2017, Turkey bought these S-400 air defense systems from Russia. And this is a time when Turkey was seeking a closer relationship with Russia. They were trying to play Russia and the United States off of each other, really in a bid to increase their leverage and their power as a middle power. Well, if the United States furnished Turkey with this F-35 fighter jet at the same time that Turkey had an S-400 anti-aircraft system, what might have happened is that if Turkey is flying these fighter jets, the S-400 radar system, which they also operate, might gain some intelligence about how to detect an F-35 jet. F-35 is a stealth fighter. And so its proprietary technology, what makes it so sophisticated, is the difficulty to detect this on radar. Well, the S-400, an anti-aircraft system, the proprietary technology there is its radar. It's extremely sophisticated and advanced radar. If Turkey has a Russian anti-aircraft system and an American aircraft system, well, they could use the Russian anti-aircraft and its radar in particular to detect the F-35, and they could potentially give that information to Russia, such that then Russia could update its anti-aircraft systems to be able to detect the F-35s, and then that would become a very valuable system to sell to other countries. If Venezuela or Syria or Iran had an anti-aircraft system capable of detecting an F-35, that would make it very valuable, and Russia would become then a more valuable arms supplier. So for that reason, the United States and Congress moved to ban Turkey from buying the F-35. They said you can't have both. You can have an American aircraft, you can have a Russian anti-aircraft system, but you can't have both. And so it's actually against the law. Well, what has changed in recent weeks is that Israel has been very disobedient to the United States. Like we talked about with the MOU with Iran, in order for the United States to get Iran to end the conflict and open the strait, we actually have to compel Israel to stop their campaign in Lebanon. Iran has made it a condition of any future ceasefire or truce that Israel must stop the campaign against Hezbollah in Lebanon. Well, we're begging Israel to stop. Trump is begging and pressuring Netanyahu to stop their campaign to please Iran so that they will let us have our oil so that we can avert this energy economic catastrophe. Israel will not do it. Israel has been defiant. They won't listen. As time has gone on since the fall of the Assad regime in 2024, and since October 7th, Turkey and Israel have become true rivals. It's become a domestic political problem for Turkey. They no longer are even, I think, able to maintain close relations with Israel. Turkey in the past has had a good and pragmatic bilateral relationship with Israel, but since October 7th and the slaughter of the Palestinians, an increasingly Islamized country like Turkey is not able to keep this relationship. That's one. But also in December 2024, the Assad regime fell, replaced by this new government led by Ahmed al-Shara, previously Gilani. And now Turkey has sought to use Syria as a forward operating base. Israel has a fear that Turkey longs to encircle Israel by increasing its influence in the Levant, that they have these ambitions to rebuild the Ottoman Empire, and so they want to expand into the south, maybe into the Arabian Peninsula. And if they do this, then they have this strategic encirclement of Israel, and they become a rival quite like Iran. And Turkey, like Iran, like Egypt, has a long history, has a common culture and language, massive population and middle-class experts, major army, million-man army and military-industrial complex. If Turkey sours on Israel, they represent a true strategic threat, and they would become a real rival. So it's the souring of that relationship since October 7th, but also this competition inside of Syria. It's becoming now something like a cold proxy war between Ankara and Tel Aviv inside of Syria to compete for influence there that has soured Israel on Turkey. And so now, in order to put pressure on Israel to end their campaign in Lebanon, the Trump administration is flirting with the idea of giving Turkey F-35s. Now, the sale of F-35s to Turkey is largely symbolic. We're going to give them 5 fighter jets, and there are a lot of problems with this, which is one, in order for Turkey to even have and operate the F-35s, they really need integration with the U.S. military-industrial complex. There's an industrial component to this as well. So it's not as simple as they just get the F-35s. They also need some industrial capacity for parts and maintenance and other things. What's more, for us to actually deliver the F-35s is going to take years. They're only getting 5. If they wanted the F-35s to be a part of Turkey's arsenal, Turkey's going to need to update and modernize their entire Air Force. So this is something that's very complicated and complex, going to take a long time to fully implement. And then the other problem is that this is going to have to go through Congress. Turkey's going to have to give up the S-400 air defense system. We're going to have to figure out what we're going to do with that. And it also is going to have to go through Congress. The president can give a waiver to Turkey to have the F-35s, but there's also a law in the federal statute preventing Turkey from getting it. So the U.S. Senate might block Turkey's acquisition of F-35s, even if the president authorizes it and gives a waiver. So is this meaningfully going to change anything? Not necessarily. But the problem that this poses to Israel is that the U.S. and Israel have always had this special relationship, as everybody knows. And the reason that Israel has a military advantage over its neighbors is because this is actually enshrined in federal law in the United States. There's a federal statute in America that says that when we sell military technology to countries in the Middle East, we can't do it in such a way that it gives those countries a military edge over Israel. The terminology that's used is qualitative military edge. And it is a legally binding mandate that whatever we give to Israel and whatever we give to any and every other country, we must ensure that Israel maintains the qualitative military edge over that country. So, for example, we were giving F-35s, I think it was to the Emirates or Saudi Arabia recently, but we couldn't give them as many as we wanted to because we had to make sure that Israel always has more than that other country, because it is mandated that we got to protect Israel's military edge. It's not enough that Israel has a nuclear arsenal of 300 warheads. It's not enough that they have intelligence sharing and close coordination with the Pentagon. We also make sure that they have the best and most sophisticated equipment from a technological point of view, and that they have more of it. That they have more of it or enough of it that's sufficient that they will have the edge over the Emirates or Saudi Arabia or Qatar. And so the idea that we would give Turkey F-35s, what it represents is that we might try to balance things out in the Middle East. Maybe it's good for the United States to give Turkey relatively more power against Israel. We're turning up the heat. We're going to make it a little bit more uncomfortable. Let's say, for the sake of argument, there's a hypothetical conflict in Syria. When the Assad regime was pushed out, Erdogan had an idea to build a Turkish military base inside of Syria. Well, Israel went ahead and bombed that base to ensure it couldn't be used by Turkey. Already, there's going to be a struggle for power to fill that vacuum inside of Syria. And I think increasingly it's going to be militarized. Israel wants to maintain its freedom of operation in Syria, which is to say their ability to strike where and when they want with impunity. And Turkey sees al-Shara as a partner. So Turkey is going to want to stabilize that government on their southern border and probably increase military cooperation and thus probably protect that regime and its stability of its government and its unity over the entire territory. So let's say there's some hypothetical conflict. Israel is going to want the ability, if necessary, to win a war against Turkey. At the minimum, to win an air war against Turkey in Syria. If Turkey has an inferior air force, then they might need to eventually bow out and withdraw from such a conflict. Well, if the United States is furnishing Turkey with the latest F-35 or some variant of F-35, then maybe that battle becomes a little bit closer than it otherwise would be. And maybe that gives Turkey a little bit more leverage in Syria. And maybe it gives them a little bit more leverage in Cyprus. And they get a little bit more power in the Eastern Mediterranean, feel a little bit more comfortable exerting themselves. Why? Because Israel's qualitative military edge has been diminished. And what qualitative means is in kind, in description. Quantitative is quantity. So if we're giving, in other words, Turkey the same qualitative type of technology, the same type of jet, then symbolically it's like Turkey and Israel have the same tech, they have the same air force. It's going to be a little bit more balanced. And so this is basically indicating to Israel, okay, whatever happens in Iran, you're going to have to deal with Turkey. Maybe Turkey becomes the protector and guarantor of the West Bank. If Gaza's cooked, maybe Turkey's going to prevent the annexation of the West Bank. Maybe Turkey becomes the guarantor of a peace in Lebanon, or Syria for that matter, or sovereignty in Cyprus or elsewhere. Israel's going to have to deal with them. What's more, Turkey has just entered into a mutual defense pact with Saudi Arabia and Pakistan. Okay, so even in a scenario where you don't got to worry about Iran anymore, Iran's out of the picture, maybe there's a friendly government, now you got to worry about the triangulation of Saudi Arabia in the southeast, Pakistan with their nuclear arsenal in the Far East, and now you got to worry about Turkey on your doorstep in the Eastern Mediterranean. It's going to be a very uncomfortable situation for Israel. And I think what Trump is threatening is, don't make us abandon this special relationship. You don't want to do what we say? Well, we have other options. We'll give these F-35s to Turkey. What do you have that they don't have? Turkey's got a 1 million-man army, significant economy, in a very critical location in the Black Sea, the Aegean, the Bosporus Strait. What can you provide? That's the question. So I think that's the bigger picture here. I don't know that the United States will give them F-35s anytime soon. And like I said, even if that decision was made, it's going to be a very long and complicated process. We may not even get across the finish line. But talking about it and threatening that, and even, for example, going to Ankara in the middle of the implementation of the MOU, what that's meant to do is send a message, which is get in line. You want to go? You want to go and do your own thing. You don't want to do what we say in Lebanon. You're gonna rebel against the United States. Well, then let's see how that goes for you when we give a squadron of F-35s to the Emirates and we give a squadron to Turkey, and suddenly you're encircled. That's the message. So anyway, so that's the story on the F-35s. Like I said, we'll see. I don't think there's going to be a ton of movement on that. It's possible, but I don't think that's going to be anything happening in a timely manner. I think that's mostly geared at the current situation in Iran. But I'll tell you, the Middle East is changing. And so the old way that things were structured, which is this Iran-Saudi Arabia proxy war and the rise of Iran's influence in the wake of the fall of Saddam Hussein and the Syrian civil war, that's no longer the story after October 7th. And the new story is increasing cooperation between this hexagonal alliance, which is India, Greece, Cyprus, the UAE, Israel, potentially other partners, against this more status quo Islamist coalition of Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, Qatar, and the United States trying to find a way to navigate in the aftermath of these wars as we extricate ourselves and look towards a future in the Indo-Pacific. That's really the new story. The Middle East is being realigned and rewritten in real time. But so anyway, so that's that. We're going to move on. We're going to take a look at our super chats. We'll see what you guys have to say about all this. We'll take a look. I wonder what people think about another show about Iran. I feel like whenever I do a show about Iran, people complain, but then I do a show about other stuff and people want me to talk about Iran. It's not for everybody. All right, well, let's take a look. Let's see what we got. I'm kind of mogging tonight. I did something a little different with my hair. What do you think? Maybe I'm just growing into it. The angularity is just like off the charts, right? I'm not even sucking in my cheeks or anything. That's just how I look. That's just how I look now. It's called I lost 30 pounds. And so now I'm just mogging everybody to death. Mogging brown clowns to death. Towel heads and nigs. All right. Let's take a look at our super chats, though. We'll see. What do you think? What do you think about what's happening in Iran?
Noisy 95 cent $20. Deport Sneeko.
Absolutely. He's got to go, man. He's got to go. He's got to go out. Deport Sneeko to Gaza. I saw Tyson Hockley says that we should deport him to Iran. Iran is too good for him. Don't deport Sneeko to Iran. Iran is too good. Deport Sneeko to Gaza. Put Sneeko in Gaza. I want to see Sneeko deported to Gaza. Because look, that's your people. You want to go and be with them. You want to be part of the jihad. He goes on stream and says, I declare jihad. Hey, go fight in the jihad then, bro. Go fight in the jihad. It's happening in Palestine. Go be with the martyrs. Doesn't Muhammad love his martyrs? Go in Gaza then.
Hobgoblin 13 cent $100.
Thank you for the big super chat. Appreciate it. No message. Beautiful.
Roy per coach sent $20. I sent this super chat. I'm supporting you with my super chat. I want all to know about the super chat. It's for a good cause.
Great. Well, I appreciate it. I love
Ebenezer
it.
Van Pelt sent $400. What do you think of Iran's suggestion to Russia that it should publicly declare a hypersonic strike on the NATO HQ and dare them to defend it with anti-missile systems? The boldness of Ukrainian attacks, and the total lack of Russian deterrence, seem to be making a broader war with Europe increasingly likely as EU leaders think it will be easy.
Thank you for the huge super chat. Really appreciate it. I don't read Ron anymore ever since he attacked me. Suggestion to Russia should publicly declare a hypersonic strike on NATO headquarters, and what is that, in Brussels or something? I don't even know where it is. I assume it's in Brussels, right? Or something. dare them to defend it with anti-missile systems. I don't think that's necessary because NATO knows that they're vulnerable to drones. Forget even about, so look, hypersonics were developed as an answer to ABM. Understand that the missile race, the nuclear race never stopped. A lot of people think that conflict was frozen, that the arms race, the great power competition was frozen after the atomic bomb was dropped on Japan. That's not the case. The arms race has always been going on. And so you could go back to the development of the earliest ABM systems, to the Strategic Defense Initiative, to after the Cold War, the deployment of an ABM system in Eastern Europe, and the withdrawal of the United States from the ABM treaty. ABM is anti-ballistic missile. ABM is extremely destabilizing because the reason we have something like a stable world order between the great powers or the nuclear armed powers is because of the principle of mutually assured destruction. Okay? Mutually assured destruction is very, and it gets technical. It's this idea that if the Soviet Union nukes the United States, then the United States can survive. And if we survive, we could retaliate with a nuclear attack of our own. And so the survivability of a first strike becomes the most important thing, right? You know, there's this question of a first strike. If the United States possesses WMDs and the Soviet Union possesses WMDs, and we're competing for power in the world, as long as the Soviet Union possesses WMDs to destroy the United States, we have to assume they would tend to use the weapons. It would be in our interest to destroy those weapons. We should nuke their nukes. But not even just their nukes, but also their command, control, and communication they might use to launch the nukes. And if we could neutralize their nuclear arsenal, then we make the world safe for us. Now there's no more nukes pointed at us. Well, what does the Soviet Union then do? Well, they need to worry about, we need to survive a first strike. How do we survive a first strike? We got to hide. We need a huge arsenal. They can't knock it out in one go. We have more nukes than they have nukes. And we need to bury it underground. And we need to hide the location of the nukes. And not only that, but we need multiple delivery systems. We need to not only have ICBMs, intercontinental ballistic missiles, that we launch from the ground in a fixed position, but also we need them on nuclear-armed submarines. Why? Because submarines are constantly moving, and so we're never going to know where the submarines are. They could be anywhere. We're not going to know where all of them are. And even if all of Russia's territory is destroyed, the submarines could still be out there. We also need an air capability. If the submarines for some reason fail, if all of Russia's territory is destroyed, before the American missiles hit Russia, maybe they could get strategic aircraft off the ground and carry a nuclear glide bomb over the United States. There's where you get the nuclear triad. So mutually assured destruction means surviving that first strike. Well, what happens when the United States develops an anti-ballistic missile system that shoots ballistic missiles down? Well, now this destabilizes this equation, because previously we rely on this equation that, hey, as long as neither of us is confident we could survive, or both of us are confident we could survive a first strike, we don't have to worry about a first strike. Well, if one country develops a shield that ballistic missiles can't hit us, or not all of them are going to hit, or most of them aren't going to hit, then maybe that country that's shielded from this becomes confident they could survive a first strike. We're going to hunt down all your subs, we're going to shoot down your strategic aircraft, and our missiles are going to hit you, and your missiles can't hit us. So the ABM is very destabilizing. We had an anti-ballistic missile treaty under Nixon, which said we're going to limit the development of anti-ballistic missile systems for that reason. Because what started to happen is that then there was research into other delivery systems for missiles, like that they would have multiple warheads, called the MIRV. So one missile would have a bunch of different warheads that would all go off in different directions. And that way the Soviet Union might have fewer missiles but more warheads. So the race was on. Under George W. Bush, we pull out of the ABM treaty, we deploy ABM systems in Europe, and we say, hey, well, don't worry about it, Russia. We need an ABM system to protect Europe from Iran. We're not deploying an ABM, which is really a radar system, to shoot down your ballistic missiles in the event of war with the United States. No, we're deploying it to prevent medium, intermediate range missiles from Iran and Europe, which the Russians don't buy. So the Russians then start to develop hypersonics. Why? Hypersonics can't be shot down. In their terminal phase, they have this plasma shield around the warhead that makes it imperceptible to radar. And so it's too fast. You have a plasma shield. The physics of it basically make it impossible to detect and then intercept. And so they developed these hypersonics to basically say, that's cute that your ABM is in Europe for Iran. We just developed a missile that will bypass your ABM system. So that was the thinking. And so the thinking is, in the Ukraine war, Russia developed these Oreshnik hypersonic missiles that they were using against Ukraine as a demonstration to say, look, the United States better not get involved. They better not give Ukraine a no-fly zone. France better not get involved, because if they do, our hypersonics are going to hit Paris and there's fucking nothing he could do about it. However, in the short time, relatively, that the Ukraine war has been going on, there have been revolutions in drone warfare. So the Ukraine war starts in 2022. This is at the beginning of the drone revolution, which you had your Reaper drones, but then Turkey starts developing these other drones. And by 2023 and 2024, it becomes a drone arms race on the battlefield in Ukraine. And very quickly, Russia and Ukraine become these drone superpowers. Ukraine is making millions of drones every year. Russia is making millions of drones every year. One-way attack drones. The drones Ukraine is using now have a longer range than a Tomahawk missile. They developed this FP5 missile that can go deep into Russia, into Siberia. They're attacking Russia's oil refineries into the Russian east, not the Far East, but into like Siberia, east of some of those major rivers, hitting oil refineries all the way out. Well, Russia's doing a little bit of this themselves. Russia's been putting drones over military bases, Air Force bases, civilian airports all over Europe. Sweden, Denmark, Germany, Netherlands. Russia's been sending drones of their own, basically to tease the Europeans. Not in a sexual way, of course, but in a military way. Basically, they're not sexually teasing them. That would be ridiculous. Russia, over the past like 9 to 12 months, has been sending these drones basically to harass civilian airports, military bases, and the message is, we can touch you. We can touch you with drones. You have no defense for this. If Europe opened up a front against Russia, Russia would make drones fly against all your bases, all your airports, all your population centers, and you can't do a thing about it. You can't identify the drones, where they came from. You can't shoot them down. You're not ready for this. That's what Russia's saying. Ukraine has developed defenses against drones, and so they've got electronic jamming, and they've got their way of dealing with it, but it's not perfect. Europe is not ready for this at all. And so I don't even think a hypersonic ballistic missile is even necessary, because I think Russia is doing enough just by putting those drones out there. And the other thing is, so there's a story this past week, there's intelligence that Russia is going to plan to cross over into a NATO country like Poland. Not in a military way, but they say maybe to recover a downed aircraft or for some kind of humanitarian mission. They're going to accidentally stage some kind of incursion and test NATO's willingness to respond, or what they would do in that situation. They're just trying to see how much they could get away with without triggering that tripwire, which would activate a NATO 5 attack on one, attack on all defense. They're trying to test NATO's resolve. So I don't even think they need to do something that extreme, because look, if Russia launched a hypersonic missile against NATO HQ, the United States has to respond. NATO has to respond. It's a declaration of war. That's the most idiotic thing imaginable. And look, Russia's not in a good position right now. Russia's losing this war as it stands. Ukraine is able to launch these very effective attacks in Crimea and against Russia's oil refineries. It's causing a fuel shortage. Diesel, they're okay with for the most part, but for gasoline, they're having a problem. And look, the war's been dragging on for a long time. We're now in the 5th year, 4 4 full years into the 5th year. No end in sight. The front lines in the east have basically been frozen. Russia is begging Lukashenko to let them open up a front in Ukraine's north, and it doesn't look like Belarus is even going to do it. In other words, Russia's getting desperate. Not to mention the casualty rate is getting very high. They say that there's something like 30,000 casualties every month on the front lines on the Russian side in the Ukraine war. They say that Russia is losing as many men as they can conscript in any given day. So I don't know why Russia would do that at this point. I think that it makes more sense now for Russia to effectively try to work out a truce or a ceasefire, try to freeze the line of contact. Because what I said last year, and I think this is just true, last year, Washington was begging Russia for a truce, begging them for a short-term ceasefire, really making this overture. And Russia said they were not going to do any kind of short-term ceasefire. They wanted a long-term peace agreement focusing on root causes. Why? Because Russia was winning the war. So when Russia was making their biggest gains in Ukraine since the war started, why would they want to stop? The only advantage in a 30-day truce or ceasefire would go to Ukraine, because then they would get to build up their defensive fortifications, they would get to rearm, they would get to conscript more men. The benefit would be for Ukraine. Well, now that the tide has turned, now I think it's more beneficial for Russia to pursue some kind of a truce. So I don't think it makes sense now to escalate. That would surely be a major provocation. And look, Ron Unz is a stooge for Russia. That much is obvious. Everybody that he publishes is some stooge for Russia. So I question whose side Ron Unz is even on. Everybody that Ron Unz publishes on Unz Review is some kind of pro-Russia partisan. Now look, I'm not a pro-Ukraine guy. You know that. But I'm also not a Russian partisan. I'm an American, and I'm not in any way, shape, or form rooting for Russia. If I was at one point, I'm not anymore, because I recognize that you have a lot of these people that seem to be on the payroll of Russia. You see that with Jackson Hinkle and Max Blumenthal in Iran this weekend, and you see it with a lot of these people that are involved with Russia today, or Sputnik, and they're pushing all this left-wing propaganda or conspiracy stuff. So, yeah, whose side is he on? They should bomb NATO? Whose side are you on? Excuse me. So, same thing with some of these other guys, like, I got the hiccups a little bit, like Jeff Sachs. Whose side is that? Jeff Sachs. Dude, fuck Jeffrey Sachs. Tucker glazes this Jew. Okay, it's like Tucker brings Jeffrey Sachs on his show and says, oh, you're brilliant. Oh, you're such a hero. Dude, Jeffrey Sachs went to one of these like multipolarity summits or forums in Belgrade, and he literally takes the stage and says, I can't wait for the multipolar era. He says, I can't wait for 500 years of European domination to end. It's everybody else's turn to lead. He said, we white people think we're the only ones. We're the only ones that could achieve a level of civilizational development. He says, that's absurd. Now that we're taking the boot off of everybody's neck, we get to be put in our place. That's Jeffrey Sachs. Go and look it up. I'm not going to find the exact timestamp, but I'll find it right now. He went to some Eurasia forum, some Eurasia multipolarity forum. Let me see if I can find it. Was it this one? Yeah, it is. Okay, here it is. Here it is. I literally here. I'm so good. This is from 6 months ago. That's who I am, and you're nothing.
Well,
okay.
I agree in part, but not entirely. And but what I do think is very important for all of us to understand, I think we all feel it also almost every day in some sense, is that we are at a watershed moment in history. I don't think it's exactly passing the baton, say, from the United States to China, which is how it's often discussed. What I do think is true is that we're at the end of a 500-year cycle in history. 500 years ago was the beginning of Europe's ascent to global power. And it came basically, when one looks back, because of two decisive voyages at the end of the 15th century. Christopher Columbus thought he was going to India, and he ended up in the Americas instead. Vasco da Gama was aiming to go to Asia. He circled the Cape of Good Hope, the southern tip of Africa, and with the help of Arab sailors, made it to India. So within 10 years, 1492 for Columbus and 1498 for Vasco da Gama's voyage, suddenly Europe had sea routes to the whole world. And part of the world was not even known, of course, to the Europeans up to that point, the Americas. This, in my view, changed human history for the next 5 centuries. It's a long story, of course, exactly what happened. But basically, Europe's control over the Americas was a decisive change of relative power in the world. Even that story of Europe's control over the Americas needs a footnote that's interesting, because a few European conquerors conquered a continent that had about 100 million people in it in the year 1492 when Christopher Columbus arrived. And so you might ask, how did Europe conquer the Americas, which had native populations all through the Americas? And the answer was not military conquest primarily. They brought diseases, which the New World populations didn't know. So the New World was conquered by yellow fever, by typhus, by plague, by malaria, by other diseases brought by the Europeans. But the point is that within a century, the native population had been reduced by 95%, and the Europeans had 2 giant continents for minerals, for gold, for silver, for agriculture, for colonization. And this was a change of human history. And I raise this point because, to my mind, this is the start of a 500-year period. By around 1750, the European global empires, the Spanish, the Portuguese, the Dutch, the British, which were the ocean empires, had enough power now to start conquering Asia and Africa. They actually couldn't make it into Africa yet because malaria was a protective barrier for Africa. In fact, every time the Europeans went to Africa to try to conquer, they were defeated by the mosquito more than the local populations. What enabled Africa to be colonized, which only happened at the end of the 19th century, was gin and tonic. Because tonic is quinine, and quinine is an ancient Peruvian cure for fever. And it was studied by the British. The seeds were stolen and brought back to Kew Gardens. It was cultivated. It was introduced into gin and tonic. And then the British could sit on their verandas and rule over Africa by the end of the 19th century, protected from malaria.
There was some part where he goes like, oh, like we're the only ones that could invent stuff or whatever. But it's like, it's okay, so that's Jeffrey Sachs. That guy is like, he's the one in the Clinton administration who said that, we should have advanced NATO eastward towards Russia. He goes on Tucker Carlson because he like hates Netanyahu and hates Israel or whatever. But that's how the guy, he's a Jew. That's how he talks. He says, we're not handing it over from the United States to China. He said, we're handing it over from the white race to everybody else. And he basically says by the end of it, like, and it's about time. It's arbitrary that the Europeans dominated. It's basically, we got lucky. We got lucky. We were the ones that happened to explore the world. We were the ones that happened to kill everybody with disease. So we lucked out and got all this material, and then we used it to conquer everybody. And so luckily now all this is coming to an end, and now we're going to let India and China and he's literally, that's by definition a third worldist. He's a third worldist. He believes that the third world got this rotten deal, that their entire story is defined by colonialism, and he's advocating for them to basically take control of their resources and unite and stick it to the white nations, to the colonial nations. That's who he is. And that's what many of these anti-Israel people are. And the reason it matters that Jeff Sachs is a Jew is because he doesn't see himself as European. That's why he has this anti-white. He goes, well, I think it's a good thing. I think it's a good thing that the Europeans are done. The 500 year, well, look, I'm not happy about that. Why would white people be happy about that? Our 500-year cycle of dominating the world is over. Why would we want it to end? Because it's fair? Look, we won. We were the ones that ventured outward. They could have built the boats. The Ottoman Empire could have built the boats. The Qing could have built the boats. Anyone could have built the boat. We built the boats because we had astronomy. We had the telescope. We had optics. Okay? We made these innovations. We did map making. We had telescopes. We made compasses. We had the balls. We had the governmental structure to finance these journeys. We were the ones that went out and did it. So it's not like it's arbitrary. Hey, anyone could have done it. What is the reason that China couldn't went east and explored the New World? They were a more populous country, arguably as technologically sophisticated as Europe or more. Why couldn't the Muslims, with their glorious Muslim empires, with their glorious Umayyad and Abbasid dynasties, why couldn't they have built the ships? They were rich. They had Spain. You know, who did the Europeans kick out of Spain in 1492? And from where did those voyages go? They came from Portugal and Spain. Why didn't the Muslims send the voyages west when they controlled Spain and North Africa? They just didn't have that dog in them. They didn't have that dog in them. The Chinese didn't have that dog in them. The Muslims didn't have that dog in them. The Spanish, the Dutch, the English, the French, the Italians, the Portuguese. We had that dog in us. That's why we mapped the stars. We made the maps. We built the ships. We financed the journeys. And we were the ones that went on the ships going west, not knowing what we'd find. And that's when we conquered the natives. And we exploited the gold and the minerals and the resources because we knew what to do with them. And then we built all the factories. We built all the machines. We built the textiles. We invented all of that. And we turned the world into a machine, an extractive machine, an enframing machine. And we created everything that you see, all the good things about the world. Your little forum where people discuss their rights, your little forum where people judge the validity of some country's elections, and we judge whether a country has a human rights record. That all came from us. I think we created a good world. But yeah, let's turn it over to the Aztecs. Let's turn it over to the Africans. Let's turn it over to the Muslims. That seems like a good idea. Oh, I'm glad that the Europeans that gave the world the Atlantic Charter and the Magna Carta and the Bible, the New Testament, yeah, let's turn it over from the civilization of Plato and Aristotle and Plotinus and the Scholastics and Shakespeare and Mozart and Dante. Let's turn it over to the civilization of human sacrifices, mass murder and genocide, slavery, sticks and stones and arrows, public executions. Let's turn it over to them. And let's wait for them to have their French Revolution, their liberal enlightenment. Fuck them. Fuck Ron Unz and fuck Jeff Sachs and all these third worlders cheering for Eurasia. Fuck them. America first. America first, boys. That's what it's all about. It's what it always will be about.
Amy Barrett's Haitian pet sent $20. Grow Vipers defeated Joe Cat in 2022. What has Patriot Front ever accomplished?
True. And we did.
Real Paisan sent $25. It's my 65th birthday today.
Whoa.
Celebrating in the hospital due to a firecracker mishap. Great show tonight, kiddo. Stay safe.
That's a lot of candles. Wait, that's a real paisan. That guy's not really 65, is he? Anyway, happy birthday, buddy. If that's real, happy birthday.
Anton Chigger sent $50. Never forget Snigger was caught on Hot Mic with Ye talking about what it feels like to be a cuck. Makes Date's accusation of him being zesty even more credible.
That was crazy. Well, hey, listen, there's problems. Okay. You know, look, I get it, all right? Sneeko has some positive traits too, but I'm trying to tell you he's not a good guy. Stop trying to remind me of all the reasons I used to like Sneeko. He's got bad traits as well. You guys always, I'm kidding, of course. I was there when he said that. That was hilarious. It was funny because we're in Spain and these guys, dude, Ye is like the funniest, unintentionally and intentionally one of the funniest people I've ever met in my life. So we're in Spain, and Ye is telling the people that are streaming it and filming it, he's like, record everything. Were you recording? Why weren't you recording? I told you record everything. I want everything to be recorded. And then these people would be recording him. He would forget that he's on stream and start saying stuff that he didn't want people to know publicly. And then he'd go, wait a second, were you streaming that? And they go, yeah, you told us to record everything. He goes, I told you only record when I told you to. Turn the camera off. So I felt so bad for these camera guys because it's like, what do you want? What do you want from me? They wouldn't be recording and he would lose his fucking mind. Why weren't you recording that? I said record everything. Just leave the cameras rolling. They say, okay, we'll put the stream back on. It's rolling. We're rolling. He'd say, okay. Then he'd forget he was on stream, say something, embarrassing. Wait, you're recording that? I told you not to record unless I tell you to. Get out. And then he threw those guys out. It was very amusing to watch, but I couldn't laugh because it's like when he's mad, you got to be like, oh, those guys fucked up. I would never do that, Ye. But yeah, so I was there. I was sitting there and Sneeko said something like, yeah, you're on the other side of the door and your heart is pounding or something like that. And Ye was like, right, absolutely, right. And then he saw they were recording and he flew across the table, slammed the laptop shut. I was like, bro, come on now. You made an album called Cuck. I think we just got to own it at this point, right? I mean, it's like, dude, you made I think that was before Cousins. Yeah, that was before. But it's like, dude, you talked about the Cuck thing already. Like, at this point, we got to just own it. It's like, it is what it is. I don't know what we're trying. It's like the swastika t-shirt, the Heil Hitler song. You're like, no, but I don't want to talk about the Cuck thing. It's like, it's sort of a losing battle. Futile. But anyway. Honestly, though, I was telling somebody about this the other day. Here's why the Cuck thing is so genius, okay? I was thinking about it. So when Ye starts his rap career, he's like a nerd. What was popular when he did College Dropout and was that 2003? The most popular rappers were all gangster rap. It was the glam era, gangster rap. And so it's 50 Cent, it's everybody rapping about the hood and killing niggas and all that. And so when Kanye West comes on the scene, he releases College Dropout. And he's wearing a polo shirt and a backpack, and he's rapping about relatable stuff. And everybody says that's gay. That's gay. You're not a gangster. You're not from the streets. You're not from the ghetto. You don't gangbang. But that was revolutionary because then in 2008, Kanye's Graduation beats 50 Cent's album on 9/11 in 2008 and blows 50 Cent out of the water. So Kanye's here to stay. It's officially cool to be a pop rap artist, make these stadium anthems about your feelings, about his big bro Jay-Z, about all this kind of stuff. He makes 808s and Heartbreaks later. I think it was 2007. 808s comes out in, what is that, 08? And 808s changes the game again because it's not even a lot of rapping. It's like more of a pop album. It's got melodies. He's talking about breakups and stuff like that. And then this influences a whole next generation, Drake and Lil Uzi Vert and the rest of them. Okay, fast forward to 2025. Every rap song is like, I'm going to fuck your bitch. I'm going to fuck your bitch. I'm going to take your bitch. I fucked your girl. So what does Ye do? He switches it up again. He says, no, I want you to fuck my girl. I actually like it. So it's just another inversion. It's just every rap song is, I'm going to take your bitch. Kanye comes out with Cuck and says, what if I like that though? Go ahead, take her. She's going anyway. Go ahead, take her. What if I want you to fuck my bitch? Take her. Genius. It's genius. No, I'm kidding a little bit. This is a joke. Obviously, it's a bit. It's a joke. Don't clip it with this part. I'm obviously joking. I'm obviously kidding. But it's funny how it inverts the usual structure, isn't it? It's just a little bit funny, okay? So, anyway. You know what, though? I'm going to say something controversial. Hey, listen, can I say something controversial? You're not going to like it. That's okay. I'm going to say something controversial. In a way, everybody's girl is going, okay? Your girl is going. Everybody's girl is going. Kanye's girl is going. Tom Brady's girl is going. Jeff Bezos' girl is going. Trump's girl is going. Where's Melania? No one knows. No one knows, bro. Everybody's girl is going. It doesn't matter how rich you are. It doesn't matter how powerful you are, how good looking you are, how athletic you are, how much status you have. Your girl's going. And so as long as Instagram exists, Instagram's got your bitch, okay? Kanye said it. Instagram's got your bitch. So in a way, like Ye was kind of revolutionary. Like, hey, man, Instagram has made us all cucks. If you have a girl, Instagram has made you a cuck, okay? Hypergamy has made you a cuck. Bitches aren't loyal anymore. There are 0 loyal bitches. They're not loyal. Bro says, my girl's not going. You're a fucking idiot. Your girl is going. So there's something to be said about, Ye was just the first one to say it. Like, hey, but I think that's a little different. He's got a little different sort of a thing going on, but there's a larger truth there, which is our girls are going, and it is what it is, and it sucks, but it is what it is. So niggas be saying my girl's not going. Hey, man, get with the program. I don't want to be the one that has to tell you, but your girl's going.
Neesbit sent $50. Did you see JD trying to moderate on Jewbag Bill Maher? He literally agreed the mass deportations went too far. JD needs to be stopped at all costs.
He didn't really moderate. He sort of defended it. He said that any law enforcement action is going to be ugly. I think he might have said, I don't know exactly what he said. I'd have to rewatch the clip, but if I recall correctly, he pushed back. In fairness, Bill Maher said, admit it went too far. Just say it. Everyone will support you. Just say it went too far. And Vance said, well, look, any law enforcement action is going to be ugly. You might have some guy that's a murderer, and if you only take the body cam footage, it's going to look like we're picking on some guy, basically. And so to his credit, that's the part that I remember. I don't know if he conceded at all.
Jay Shep sent $20. Thanks for putting me on to the band America.
Yeah, you get great band. One of my favorites.
Dante G. Masali sent $20. Hey, Nick, did you catch the Brown Clown stream tonight? It was very sickening.
I don't watch who watches the Brown Clown? Nobody.
Franco for Forever sent $20. Shout out Veiled Angel Cake for her edits. Groy pets are such awesome women.
The edits are good. The edits are excellent. So we like the edits. If someone is making something good, leave them alone. Someone is making something good, leave them alone. That's what I say.
Wage Slave Electrician sent $100. You have, by far, the most reasonable take about Patriot Front. Everyone supporting the marches is not keeping score of right-wing activist groups versus the FBI.
Yep.
The people who plotted to kidnap Gretchen Whitmer got nuked from orbit. Most of the Proud Boys went to prison. Do these people ever learn?
Thank you for the big super chat. No, they don't. They don't. When has that ever? I mean, literally, what have these groups ever done? Identity Europa doesn't exist anymore. Oath Keepers and 3%ers basically don't exist. Proud Boys, I think they're still out there, but I mean, they got fucked over by the FBI. The record is not good with these groups. And it's just a disaster waiting to happen. Like I said, Patriot Front has 2 judgments against them. Do you know that? Do they talk about that? No. They have a $3.5 million judgment against them in Massachusetts, a $500,000 judgment against them in Virginia. Their people get arrested all the time for vandalism, for disorderly conduct, for battery, under the KKK statute. It's a disaster waiting to happen, I'm telling you, man. But you know what? People want to do it. Knock yourself out.
Messi sent $50. The U.S. spends $0 subsidizing soccer while countries in Europe pour billions in subsidies into football just to win. Should we fund soccer infrastructure to catch up, or is that a waste of money?
I don't know. I don't have a strong opinion on it. I don't like soccer. I never did. I wasn't good at it. I don't like it. I think it's dumb. I like baseball. I like football. I like basketball. I like hockey. I don't watch any of these sports, but like conceptually, I like them. I like the idea of them. Soccer, I think, is just stupid. Kicking the stupid ball around, it's just retarded.
Dojo Hambino sent.
And it's just like, it's 90 minutes, but maybe we'll add more minutes. I don't know. In like the last 5 minutes, we're going to add some more minutes. People are flopping around. It's just stupid. And I don't even really know how it works. People say offsides. I don't even know what that
Dojo
means.
Hambino sent $20. If there's a single fictional character that Sneeko embodies, it's Little Finger from God. Loyal only to the highest bidder.
Okay.
Truth sent
Insightful
$111.
comment.
This is not trust. This is truth. In God we trust.
Thank you for the big super chat. Appreciate it.
Patriot Front Row
The
sent
goat.
$20. My friends on Discord keep telling me that you're not smart. What do I say then?
I don't know.
Mex of Point 445
It's a
Sophia
tough
sent $20. Ben, please look at your Xbox Steam is big. Pensive face emoji. Red.
Okay, that's crazy. That's crazy. Some like psycho girlfriend is like using my show to talk to her boyfriend. That's crazy. Mexican Foyd. She knows he's watching America First. That's how she's going to reach him. That's crazy. That's actually crazy. Xbox DMs. That's diabolical. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to the Moid watching the show. Don't listen to her. Don't listen to her. Don't listen to her. Don't open the message. Nice try. Oh man, I shouldn't have even read that. Nice try though. That's
Grower
crazy.
Nomad sent $20. You've said you'd leave if Dems win 28 out instead. Have you considered building a dedicated grower per community or city in the U.S.?
No, I don't want to be in I don't even want to listen to your super chats. You think I want to live next to you? Could you imagine? Could you imagine what that would look like if I tried to start a commune of groypers? What type of person would be so gung-ho about groypers that they show up to the community? It'd be like, hey, Nick, we're ready for the community. It would be like the most insane thing you've ever seen. And like, yeah, no, that's just like, what the fuck is wrong with you to even suggest that? Like, honestly, what the fuck is wrong with you that you would even think that's a good idea enough to say it?
Traffic and Truther sent $32.
Thanks.
Fed Exposer Growiper sent $25. Are you sure Oliver Tree wasn't killed by the Frankists?
That's like if you said that to me in real life, I'd be like, ah, right, yeah. Like part of why I hate being with people is because you have to hear shit like that. Oh, hey, so you would have some like douchebag with the drink in his hand and be like, hey, Nick, thinking like he like rehearsed this one. He thought of this one in his head. Hey, Nick, you sure Oliver Tree wasn't killed by the Frankists? And I'd have to be like, right, because they say they kill everybody, right. And like a part of me would die. Like a part of me would die because I had to fake laugh. A part of me would die that I had to just put on this performance for you. You sure Oliver Tree wasn't killed by the Frankists? Water cooler humor. That's just like NPC water cooler humor. You should be hanged. You should be hanged until you're dead. You sure Oliver Tree wasn't killed by the Frankists? Shut the fuck up. You should be hanged by your neck until you die.
Realtor Growiper sent $25. Have you heard about Mitch MC Connell's wife, who was born in China going back to China?
I did,
to be the
yeah.
Logan Act.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's insane.
Travoltage sent $50. Are we supposed to trust the plan on a mysterious QAnon LARP of a dark house? Why don't you just reveal him instead of gatekeeping like a faggot? $500 donation tomorrow if you reveal him.
What? Dude, if you're still paying attention to that, you're an idiot. Niggas are still up to date on QAnon. Yeah, so they're talking about this dark house. Who is still... That shit is obviously fake. And it's been fake forever. You're still waiting? Huh. I can't wait until they say they're going to produce JFK Jr. Okay, I'll wait. It's like, dude, if you don't know that that's fake by now, you're just as dumb as they are. You're probably dumber.
Travoltage sent $20. Dark Horse the Rothschild autocorrected me.
Oh, I thought you meant real QAnon. Oh, well, in that case, you're also an idiot. Could you reveal him instead of just gatekeeping like a faggot? Holy, like, exit politics today. If you don't understand what's going on with that, honestly, exit politics yesterday. Just go and do. Isn't there some kind of football game for you to watch somewhere? Don't you have some kind of like reservation at Chili's that you need to get to with your fucking field hockey wife?
I hope 19 isn't too old.
Idiot.
Sent $20. These Ford names sending you money aren't actually women. No woman is sending you thousands of dollars. Fat unhinged men are.
You're wrong. You're wrong about that. I met him. You're wrong about that. I've met him. Nice try, though. Holy Kopi. You wish that was true. You're sitting over there crying to yourself, no Foyt is giving you thousands of dollars. Oh, but they are. They are, my young friend. They actually are. I know that hurts.
The Ghost of Cohen sent $20.
But it's
you should
true.
add a little tap dancing number to your show, kid. Tap dancing's how I beat Hitler. FX4 Goem sent
Nice.
$30. Nick is always right. My GF of 2 years was going behind my back. Your girl is going.
Listen. I'm not trying to be the bearer of bad news, but your girl is going. Okay? Unless she just does not have social media, she's going. Okay? Like, let me give you a list of girls that aren't going. Girls that are virgins when you started dating and that have no social media. End of list. If she wasn't a virgin, if she's on Instagram, she's gone. She's gone. She doesn't exist. She dematerialized. She's not there. She doesn't like you. Okay? It's just how it is. It's just how it is now. It's brutal. I'm so glad I'm an incel because it's so brutal out there, I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine. I see the shit that even a guy like Clav has to go through. The terminology, the techniques, the looks maxing, the PUA game, the PUA thing. It's just like, goodness gracious. God help the simps. I mean, honestly. GF for 2 years going, man. I'm sorry to hear that, man. She belongs to the streets. It happens. They're all like that now. It is what it
Pumpkin
is.
Man sent $20. Hey Nick, what's your thoughts on the Pope for welcoming in African migrants to Europe and his other pro-immigrant comments?
I disagree with him.
Curious Sneeko sent $20. I love how you joke about people with Asperger's as if that isn't like 80% of your fan base, including you.
I love the seething. I love how you joke about Asperger's. That is an 80% of your... Holy, it's okay, bro. It's
Chop
fine.
Chungus sent $20.
What's your problem?
Nick Fuentes may be only 3/4 white, but he has the soul of a fully normal Perone.
Very good.
Persian Master
Oh, Perone. As I said, person.
Persian Master Race sent $100. Are Persians white?
No, they're not. Thank you for the big super chat. We'll claim them if they win this war. If they like bring justice and freedom to the Middle East, then maybe we'll call them white. But they're kind of brown.
John from Berwyn sent $20.
Shit. No, better be
Bruce
careful.
Lingsworth sent $20. If we send Dean Withers to Iran, would it change the conflict, since it would now be known as the Gay of Hormuz? KRNG1215 sent $20.
Okay.
Read that you were considering attending Auburn at one point. Is that real? If so, can the Auburn Groypas get a war eagle from the goat?
Absolutely not. I was considering it in high school and college because that's where the Mises Institute was. I was like a big libertarian in high school. And so I was like, I want to go to the Mises Institute. Literally, like, I want to go to the Mises Institute and study economics. So yeah. But no, I'm not going to take part in your insipid college football rivalry. Niggas be like, roll tide, war eagle. Give me a break, bro. Holy slop.
2026
Holy
Nick Moms
NPC.
2025 Nick sent $20. Calling a Sneeko an LLM is insulting to LLMs.
Yeah, LLMs are smart.
Kazak sent $50. Papa John's
Good
cheese
one.
and bread emoji, or Taco Bell beefy 5 layers burrito?
Oh, Taco Bell clears.
Cajun Groy % $20. Clavicular is going to Tel Aviv to kiss the wall and you still won't disavow him.
Facts.
It won't be long before he fucks you over for the Jews. I thought you were a man of principle. Fuck Clav the Jew.
You're just a faggot, dude. You're a fag because you're jealous of him. That's ultimately what it comes down to. Dude, Clav is the GOAT. And I'm never going to disavow. You're gay for like, why are you invested in this? You're invested in two guys' friendship? Yeah, Clav is my bro. Maybe he's going to kiss the wall. Obviously, I disavow that. Obviously, I don't support that. But also, Clav never promised that he was a committed anti-Semite. Clav always said, I am trying to ascend in every way and just get as rich and successful as possible, and I don't care about politics. And then you guys are like, why isn't he this like political avatar? If anything, it's like, why do you have some attachment to an e-celebrity? Have you ever thought about that? Have you ever thought that you're an adult man with your own dick and balls and you're like deeply invested in a live streamer? I understand a political movement, you know, if you support me because we're in a political movement and you support the ideals of this movement and everything, okay, I understand that. I understand being invested in a political ideology. But Clavicular's a live streamer. He's just one of the characters in the live stream universe. And he always said, hey, I'd like my character build is I'm only interested in fucking bitches and making money and status maxing. and you feel like personally betrayed. You're like, why did Braden Peters go to Israel? You thought he was what? You thought he was a Nazi? What would make you think he was a Nazi? He hits his face with a hammer. He gets a nose job. He's clearly a hedonistic materialist, you know, just trying to max out on all of his attributes. And you're like salty and mad and crying. You're like, my favorite E-celeb isn't a true national socialist. It's like, maybe you need to examine what's going on with you. I like Clav because he's pushing an actually activist message for young men. And by that, I mean, look, your girl is going. How do we attract women in 2026? Don't ask me, because I'm repellent to them. They hate me, you know, I'm too much, I'm a piece of shit, I'm a Nazi, whatever, okay. How do we attract women in the big 2026? It's all about that initial attraction. How do you attract women in 2026? You got to have a good dating app profile. You got to have a good Instagram profile. Am I wrong? You got to look your best if you're going to meet up with a girl in real life. So if you're going to hit that benchmark, if you're going to hit that threshold of initial attraction to get a girl, what is actual practical advice to do that? Improve your looks. Improve your looks. You want to slide into a girl's DMs or have a successful dating app profile? Get a really nice physique, get lean, get a good haircut, like look as best as possible. Why? Because it's an extremely competitive dating market. Women are whores now, and that's what matters to make that initial connection. So for Clavicular to tell young men, hey, looks are what matter, women are shallow whores, I'm a living demonstration of that. This is how you can improve your life. That's actually a great service. It doesn't have anything to do with fucking Israel, numbnuts. It doesn't have to do with Israel. It doesn't have to do with immigration. This is practical advice for young men. Especially in an era when young men are not getting good advice. Young men are even being told by Catholics, like, get married young and have more kids than you can afford. Find a biblical woman. You know, these biblical women, dude, they want to hook up with Chads too. You think these church-going women with Proverbs whatever in their Instagram bio, Proverbs 6-7 in bio, you think they want to get shacked up with some fucking Latin Mass nerd? Some Latin Mass autist with a bad haircut, 20 pounds overweight, with the scraggly beard? Absolutely fucking not. No, when it's like 10 years ago when girls would say, I'm into nerds. And who are the nerds? It's Superman with glasses on. Who's the actor that played Superman? It's that guy with glasses on. That's when girls say they're into nerds, that's what they mean. And it's like today, when girls say, I want a traditional man, you know what they're talking about? Superman with a cross on. They're talking about when girls say, I want a real Christian man. I want a real Christian alpha man who's going to put me in my place and he's going to be the breadwinner. You know who they're talking about? They're talking about Chris Evans in a three-piece suit at Latin Mass. That's who they're talking. They're not talking about some ugly ass nerd with an icon shrine in the corner of his room who's like, excuse me, milady. No, she still fucking hates that guy and wants him to die. And if that guy hit on her, she would want to kill herself. Okay? So Clavicular is giving practical advice, which is 1, women are whores. 2, women are hypergamous. 3, they're extremely superficial. 4, if you want to have any chance of success with women in a modern scenario, you just need to look as good as you can. That's all you can do to create that initial attraction. It's not the only thing, it's not maybe even sufficient to go the distance, but that you're not going to get your foot in the door if you don't have that settled. That's good advice. And so for him to go around basically as a living demonstration, going around on stream and showing how whorish women are, showing how shallow and depraved they are, demonstrating that lookism is real and for winners, okay, that's good. I don't need him to have, wait, but is he anti-Semitic? It's like, who fucking cares, dude? Who cares? Wait, is he anti-Semitic? Wait, does he share my niche political ideology? It's like, bro, grow the fuck up. He's a normal guy in the world, maxing out everything. He never said he's some political martyr for National Socialism or like dying against Israel. He said, look, I'm here as basically an ideological lookist from the Black Pill forums. And he's just going to give himself fully to this pursuit. And that involves status maxing and, whatever. It's like, I don't agree with, obviously, you know my position on it. Why do you need me to disavow a friend of mine? Well, I can only be friends with people that share my niche political views. Totally insane. So fuck you and anybody else that has a problem with that. You go commit suicide over favorite East celeb. Favorite East celeb doesn't share my niche political views. I'm mad about that. Like, bro, Clav, Tate would tell you, get your money up, bro. Why don't you get your money up? You're probably some broke, bitchless loser, and you're just like rooting for other men on the timeline, like deeply invested in their interpersonal relationships. I'm all for supporting a political ideology, but some of you people, it's like, if you care that much, get in the game. Don't. What? Nick didn't disavow Clav. Like, grow up.
Vlog
Are you
impregnated
14?
girl I sent $20. Started going to Catholic Mass since Easter. On 2 Kings. Looking at getting baptized. Prayed to God and got a job. Ascending.
Love it. Love to hear it, man. God bless.
Bro, I promotion sent 50.
It's not just getting baptized. You got to get confirmed.
Bro, I promotion sent $50.
But I hope you
I
do
married
it.
a leftist at 19 and indoctrinated her. Now 8 years later she tells me she doesn't want to miss the show just because it's her
Wow.
birthday. It doesn't matter what they believe. Be a man.
Well, listen, Captain Save-A-Ho. Let's relax before we give everybody advice. I love a guy will make it work with the girl and then he'll say, hey, fellas, I could do it. Now you got to be like me. I fucking hate that shit so much. You'll have a guy and he's so enamored with his wife and, I took my wife and I made her some right-wing whatever. And listen up, fellas. Look at my girl. It's like, relax, pal. No, most leftists are... The reason you were able to indoctrinate her is because she was 19, stupid ass. If she was 24, forget about it. Okay, you probably met her when she was 19. What was her body count? That matters a lot more than her professed political ideology. That's the difference. Okay. A girl at 19, dude, she don't have any views. That's the problem. It's like... But by the time she's 19, she's got, 16 bodies, and most of them are older than that before they're ready to settle down. So let's just slow it down, okay?
Bob
Slow your
Tyler
roll.
sent $20. Do you have any control over the Groyper curse? Please cast it on Byron Donalds. We Floridians need all the help we can get.
Yeah, it's a shame. I think they really cheat. I'm not going to say it's over for Fishback, but they really fucked him over by not having that debate. If they had the debate like they said they were going to, I think it would have been a really big opportunity, but without that, it's going to be really tough. So, I hope it goes well.
Labcraft sent $20. Trent Horn made a video titled When Did Relationships Become Scary? Talking about obsession. With his wife. I'd be scared.
Yeah, well, that's just it. I mean, nobody wants to be Trent Horn. That's why you need Clavicular. Yes, Clavicular is a degenerate. Yes, he's a, profligate sinner. Okay, we get it. Here's the difference, though. Nobody wants to be Trent Horn because we all recognize that, his wife has all the power in the relationship. The wife is crazy. The wife is lustful with other guys. The wife is talking. Dude, Trent Horn's wife, his Catholic trad wife, is on a podcast by herself, openly airing out how she wanted to have an affair with another man. Most men would rather die than be married to a woman like that. They would literally rather die. And you want to know why? Because they would be mortified. You know what it means to be mortified? To want to die. The idea that your wife, okay, honey, dear, light of my life, the idea that your wife, that you pour resources into and that you love with all your heart and that you put in a white dress and the mother of your children and you cry over and stress over, the idea that she would go on a podcast by herself with another guy airing out how she wanted to cheat on you with another man, people would rather die than get humiliated like that because it's so mortifying. So nobody wants to be Trent Horn. Nobody wants to take advice from some pussy whip beta male who his wife clearly runs his shit. That's a nightmare. That's like you're not a man anymore. Every young man recognizes that at once it represents the worst of both worlds. Because it's like, okay, if you're out there having sex with women, eventually you're going to fall in love with one and want to settle down and have kids and have a nice domestic life. On the other side, if you're a bachelor or you just mess around, you get to maintain this masculine, adventurous spirit. You get to take risks and be an entrepreneur and do whatever you want, whatever. It's like Trent Horn represents the worst of both. Because it's like you're a low-T, risk-averse pussy, but also you're like a slave in your own house. You're like not even in control of your household. And so no man wants to be in that position. Okay? Moral they may be, sure. I'm sure Trent Horn's a better Catholic than me, absolutely. But nobody desires that lifestyle. Men want to have a wife, then they're still the boss. They're still the boss of the wife. They're still the boss of the house. And if the woman thinks about cheating, she better keep it to herself because you'd like kill her. Not actually, but she would know. It's ambiguous. It's like because you're that much of a man that she just wouldn't even think about doing that to you. What kind of woman would go and fuck with you like that in public? It's just totally insane. So, yeah, I mean, who would listen to him about relationships? His wife is literally on Pints with Aquinas saying, I thought about having an affair with another man. And blah. It's like, oh my gosh. And you're Catholic? Why is she even on a podcast? If she's on a podcast, it should be the two of them together.
Propeller Dog sent $50. POV, you wake up in a panic in Tucker Carlson's cabin after hitting your head. Tucker. Porn? Palantir? CIA? What are talking about, silly? Here, take this, hands you as in, chuckling like a retard.
Yeah, right.
Diddy Sprinkles sent $100. No message.
Thank you for the big super chat. No
Wendy's
message.
Busty Bussum sent $25. We know you play Clash. We've all seen the pic of you playing it alone at a NYC bar. Why lie? Maybe Tucker was right about you.
That's AI, bro. That's not real. I don't play mobile games. I play Call of War. I don't play Clash of Clans.
Boys just want to have fun sent $20. I just watched Nuremberg. Life-changing. We can never allow this to happen again. We must support Israel against Iran. Nick Northcutt sent $25. Did you see Myron's debate with Nick Matau? Way better than Sneako's debate with him. Jar Jar Binks debates like a brown clown.
No, I didn't see that.
Americana Politica sent $20. Sneako is a sensitive brown clown. Crying all the time. I think back to you throwing the flashlight in Phasmophobia to Lampoonson. We're throwing the stick and I have to laugh. The white man is back.
That dude, Keith, me and Keith had like a fight over that because Keith Woods, I think he used to be a third worldist. He's kind of come to see it my way a little bit. He was like, Yaya's martyrdom will set the world ablaze. It's like, dude, he's a nigga with the stick.
Don Kenny sent $50. No. You are younger than my oldest grandson. Sneako? Stop it, baby. You are so above that. You're a star.
Thanks.
Elaine Zhao sent $20. Okay, my job done. Time to go back home. Bale G sent $20. Nice. I love Messi, but he's not even the best.
I promise you, no one. It's not. Actually, he's not. I would say he's the fourth best. Shut the fuck
Ken
up.
Cox sent $20.
No one cares about soccer. It's just an excuse to extol white supremacy.
Ken Cox sent $20. I just saw Casino today with Robert De Niro. A lot of anti-Jewish remarks. I thought you said Hollywood was controlled by Jews?
Okay, idiotic remark aside, that's one of my favorite movies of all time. Great movie.
Whatever. Sent $50. Like, your stomach is flat. Skinny fat is kind of gay.
Facts.
Bacon or eggs for breakfast? Deep dish or extra cheese pizza?
My stomach is flat. It's incredible. I look incredible. I'm in the best shape of my life. Yeah, it's worth it. I didn't think it was when I was like a fat, disgusting pig. I was like, what could be better than this? And now I'm like, no, this is better. Skinny is better. Skinny is better. I'm reformed. I was a disgusting pig. I couldn't see it. I really was much heavier. You look at the show from like September 2025, I was like a heckin' chonker. I was a little porker. And I just didn't see it. Now that I'm skinny, I'm like, what was I thinking my whole life? Eating less is the move. Don't get me wrong, I still love food. I love pizza, I love burgers. I eat less. Anyway, bacon or eggs, both. Deep dish or extra cheese, both.
Pete Hegseth sent $20. Should I show Bibi my Jerusalem tattoo to prove my loyalty while I'm in Israel? Groy Perun sent $20.
Like,
Isn't it just the worst to see Anna Kasparian curse like a sailor every 5 seconds? Pretty women used to smile and be normal.
Shut the fuck up. You're gay. Dude, you're gay. My queen is swearing every 5 seconds. Make her stop. I miss when women wore sundresses and were. Dude, holy. And you're probably like one of these. Are you wearing a fedora? Sir, please remove your fedora. And I am about to tell you this. Sir, remove the fedora from your head. Isn't it just the, doggone it. Isn't it just the worst? Isn't it just the worst to see Anna Kasparian curse like a freaking sailor every 5 seconds? That dame. Shut the fuck up and fucking kill yourself, dude, immediately. Remove the fedora and shoot yourself in the mouth. Pretty women used to smile and be normal. Grow up, bro. Women are whores. Wake up. Nigga, it's 2026. Every woman is a whore. Wake up.
Nick Fuentes sent $20. I love you, Nick Fuentes. How are you?
Thanks.
Boys just want to have fun sent $20.
Okay.
This is a lecture and we can pay money to troll the teacher or ask questions. You are the best political analyst I've found.
Thanks.
Kahale07 sent $20. Why does every AI start with C? ChatGPT, Claude, Codex, Copilot, Cursor. The Romans gave C a tail. Grok, Gemini. Coincidence? Any chance you could research on this? If not, what can we do about it?
Did somebody super chat this or did I see this on Twitter? I feel like I saw
sent
this
$50.
already.
Muhammad appropriated Christ, said to 6-year-old Aisha Jesus was just a prophet. Bay, I'm the last prophet, then promptly countermanded look aside doctrine. Why be anti-Israel as a Catholic? Crusades?
Oh, dude. All that for that? Why be... Dude, Jews hate Catholics, idiot.
Duba Murdoch sent $20.
Hello, it's called the Bar Kokhba Rebellion. It's called the destruction of the temple. They hate Rome.
Duba Murdoch sent $20. Would Turkey gaining a military foothold have any real bearing over their territories in Cyprus? Or do they have too much on their plate with Israel and the Middle East to rock the boat?
That's just the stupidest question I've ever
Boys
heard.
just want to have fun sent $20.
Thank you.
Boys just want to have fun sent $20. W ran on mad, Russia, and drones here some more money, way cheaper than college.
Well, go to college,
Millennial Dad Skinny Son sent $20. Longtime Miami native. 25-year vet at UPS. Next time you're in town if you need a chauffeur I'm available no charge.
Hey, let's go. That's okay. I like driving myself or just taking an Uber. But I appreciate it, buddy. I'm a UPS vet. I was only there for 2 months, though. I was an unloader. Pause. I was a loader and an unloader. I did all the unloading. No, but I used to empty the trucks. It was terrible, terrible job. Terrible job. All black people from Gary, Indiana, on the south side. They would take a bus there. I said, these poor souls in this hell, this hellish industrial park. They would take a bus from Gary, Indiana to Hodgkins, Illinois to unload boxes for $15 an hour. For a seasonal job, you get 3 hours a night if you're lucky. If you're lucky, you got 3 hours. Most nights you got 2 hours, 1 hour. Taking a bus from Gary, Indiana to make $30 on a bus in the middle of the night, in the night shift for a seasonal job. They were there because there was a generous bonus. It's like if you stayed on the whole time, you got like $1,000 bonus or something. Oh, man, it's like life is hell. Life is really, you just got to make money, guys. Make money. Make money. Spare yourself from the indignity. I know, like, some people don't like hearing stuff like that, but I'm just telling the young people, my family used to say money doesn't solve all your problems, but it's good for your nerves. Money doesn't buy happiness, but it's good for your nerves. It's like you just don't want to be in squalor. Get your bread up. That's my advice to the young niggas. Focus on that. Focus. Just shut the fuck up and focus. How
Boys
about
just
that?
want to have fun sent $20. Extra monologue tonight better than original programming. Can't wait for the edits.
Thanks. Anyway, yeah, so UPS vet, love Miami. I got to get back there.
Sean Keogh sent $20. Priya Patel hot for a G-Eat. Also, Ashley St. Clair exposing MAGA. Good or no?
Yeah, I love it. She's been unleashed. Good for her. Because she was like a GOP whatever. She was with Turning Point and the rest of them, and I love now that she's just rat fucking all of them. I wish she would stand down against Elon, but because she got offered a very generous thing. Didn't Elon offer her like $50 million to just not talk? Women are crazy, man. Could you imagine? You fuck the richest guy in the world. He says, all right, here's $50 million. Just be quiet. And you're like, no, that's not enough. I want to tag you on Twitter all day. Like, what? Now she's got to go on podcasts talking about politics? Like, bro, Who wouldn't? You're some woman, you get to fuck the richest guy in the whole world. He says, you know what? Just for fucking me, I'm going to give you 50. Do you know how much $50 million is? I think most people don't even realize how much money that is. You make $100,000 a month, you make $1 million a year. You do that for 50 years, you make $50 million, okay? Quick math, obviously not perfect. If you make $100,000 a month for 50 years, $50 million. You could spend $100,000 a month for 50 years. You wouldn't even touch the principal. Maybe you would. You borrow against it. I can't do the quick math on that. But it's like, you know how much money that is? You never have to worry about anything ever again. You can have the nicest everything forever. And she's like, no, I want to do podcasts. I want to run my mouth on a podcast because you know what? It's like, well,
Yeah, Nick. Some people want to do shit, not just spend money their whole fucking life. You know, fucking, what a novel idea, right? Actually do something with your time on Earth, not just sit in a fucking swivel chair talking shit about everybody else and carrying on like some sort of a fucking teenage female drama queen, fucking looking at yourself and your hair in the fucking camera. I've had enough tonight, fellas. Y'all have a good evening. I'll see you guys tomorrow.